Medical today. They've beaten Chelsea to Xhake's signature by allowing him to stay at Rennes till the summer. Liverpool will pay £55 million initially, with £5 million in add-ons. Meanwhile, former Palace chairman Simon Jordan has given his verdict on their deal with Wolves for Jurgen Strand Larsen.
I don't think he's a good player. No, I mean, but ultimately, if Crystal Palace do, then that's the £48 million that they've spent. I would imagine the Mateta deal will go through.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine them spending money that they haven't already recouped.
Elsewhere on deadline day, talkSPORT understands Fulham have rejected Everton's offer for Harry Wilson. Meanwhile, we're hearing the Cottagers' move for PSV striker Ricardo Pepi could still be on. All the latest deals, as always, at talksport.com. Now, Martin Keown has shared his reaction to Paul Scholes saying Arsenal would be the worst team ever to win the title.
Look, I love Paul, but, you know, this is like one of his comments, is like one of his tackles, isn't it? It's waist high.
And England's former white ball captain, Jos Buttler, is backing his predecessor, Harry Brook, to keep that job.
He's a very natural leader. He's incredibly calm, tactically reads the game brilliantly, leads with the bat. Like the way he plays is fantastic. And I think he's got an incredible mindset. He doesn't seem fazed by much.
Well, Brook says he lied about that New Zealand nightclub incident ahead of the Ashes to protect his teammates.
Good evening, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Alex Crook and Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. So transfer deadline day comes to a close in less than half an hour. You will not miss a trick with us here on talkSPORT as we bring you the very latest deals as they happen. With Mateta to AC Milan off, will he have to come crawling back to Crystal Palace, or is an exit still on the cards tonight? Have Liverpool made a mistake by not filling a Gehi-size hole this month? And the first transfer window in 25 years without Daniel Levy at Spurs. So has it been a bold new era this January, or same old, same old? It's deadline day, live on talkSPORT with Jim White, Alex Crook and Danny Murphy. Stay with us. Good evening, everybody. Just gone 6:30 this Monday evening, the business end of transfer deadline day. Jim White, Alex Crook and Danny Murphy. With us, you will not miss a trick. You can listen to us live on talkSPORT. Of course you can. You can watch us live because we're streaming live, as always, on YouTube and your smart TV. For all the information on how to watch the show, just head to talksport.com/watch. Alex Crook is right across what is happening where. Without any further ado, the clock is ticking. Remember, a 7 o'clock deadline. Alex, what are you thinking?
Yeah, good evening, Jim. Good evening, Danny. Good evening, everybody. For the second transfer deadline day in succession, Crystal Palace dominating the headlines. In the summer, it was all about Mark Guéhi and that ultimately ill-fated potential move to Liverpool that you'll remember Oliver Glasner put a stop to in the final hours of the window. Today, it's Guéhi's former teammate Jean-Philippe Mateta who has kept us entertained throughout the afternoon. We reported yesterday on talkSPORT that his move to AC Milan was in jeopardy because of doubts over a knee issue. They flew over their own doctor to London, Milan to undergo further tests on that knee. They pulled out early this evening. Then it looked like Juventus might be able to nip in and take Mateta on loan. And then we broke the story exclusively on talkSPORT around about 6:15 tonight that Mateta stays at Crystal Palace. What that means for him in the short-term future, I think, is open to interpretation. There were some concerns amongst Palace fans. That would mean the deal taking Jurgen Strand Larsen from Wolves to Selhurst Park for 43 million plus add-ons wouldn't go ahead. I'm told that is very much on track. In fact, we should get a formal announcement around about 7 o'clock tonight that Strand Larsen is a Crystal Palace player. One deal it might scupper is Dwight McNeil going from Everton to Crystal Palace. Again, we broke this around about lunchtime that a £20 million bid was in. I think they were relying on the money from Mateta, £26 million from Milan, to facilitate that.
Yep.
Talks ongoing. Maybe there could be a loan deal with an option stroke obligation. We'll keep right across that. Across London at West Ham, Axel Disasi belatedly has undergone his medical. That's a deal that's dragged on all day, but it looks like he will be signing on loan from Chelsea. And staying in the capital, we also reported exclusively that Arsenal, having lost Mikel Merino to a foot injury likely to rule him out for the rest of the season, they made an inquiry to Bayern Munich for Goretzka. I don't think that deal is going to happen now. It doesn't look like Arsenal are going to make any additions, but there are plenty of stories. Wolves are waiting to confirm 2 signings themselves. Angel Gomez on loan from Marseille and Adam Armstrong from Southampton. So as often happens in a transfer window in January, it's the teams lower down the food chain, those scrapping against relegation, who are doing most business.
Okay, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Danny Murphy, good evening.
Good evening.
This is unusual, isn't it? Monday evening in the company of Danny Murphy. Nobody better. What do you make of this? As Alex has outlined for us, because of a variety of circumstances, Mateta has got to go crawling back to Crystal Palace. How's that going to go down with Palace fans?
Well, a lot will depend on how quickly he can start scoring again or whether he even plays again. So I will have to wait and see on that. I actually, although some people don't like the way he's conducted himself, I've got huge sympathy with him. I've been in that position. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I'd got my dream move from Crewe to Liverpool. And luckily it wasn't on the last day. But I went and did the medical, went back to Anfield to wait for the okay to deal with the press who were at Anfield. You know, That's his dream stuff. And then I got pulled into a room saying there's a problem with one of the scans on your medical. It's inconclusive about your knee. Now, I'd never had a knee injury. It wasn't like I'd had a couple of operations or these things can happen.
So all of a sudden, alarm bells.
Alarm bells, to say the least.
Yeah.
Anyway, the deal got put off. Press got told to go home. As I say, thankfully it wasn't a last day one. And I went and had to the next couple of days do more conclusive tests and stuff like that. And it just so happened it had been a bad picture and a bad read from the guy looking at it, and everything was fine. So the reason I bring that story up is that not every medical fail is because somebody's got a disastrous problem.
But he's going to be heartbroken tonight, isn't he? Mateta.
Well, I think he'd be heartbroken on a couple of fronts. One is that, you know, a fantastic club like AC Milan don't come in every day. It's one of the biggest clubs in Europe with fantastic history, no disrespect to Palace. And my understanding is he's not particularly on the higher list of earners. You know, he's a late developer, Mateta, and he's only really earning very average money for a Premier League player who's scoring goals. Well, not scored so many recently. So from a financial security for his family and himself, there's going to be a lot of concerns there for him. I know some people won't have any care about that because he's earning, 40 grand a week. But
Would he not have been better, though, Danny, not to burn his bridges with the Crystal Palace fans? He released that emoji on social media at the weekend, an angry face on social media. We could all read between the lines. Palace fans were singing songs, not necessarily against Mateta, but they were singing Wilfried Zaha's name at the weekend, and we know there's a bit of animosity between the two. It's a World Cup year. If he doesn't play for Palace for the rest of the season, he's not going to go to the World Cup with France.
I never understand players who go down that line. I mean, we didn't have social media to deal with, so it's hard to compare. But I mean, it's emotional intelligence, isn't it? You know,
what do you achieve?
You don't. You're just ranting in the moment because you can't control your emotion. So it's a silly thing to do.
Yeah.
The great thing about football is that we've seen it many, many times. Players can say things and fall out, and then if they perform on the pitch, they get forgiven.
Right.
I remember one of the best players we've ever seen in this country, Wayne Rooney, saying he wants to leave to Man City. I mean,
sure.
If he can turn that round, anybody can turn anything round.
Okay, it's a big story in that we did think we'd be waving off Jean-Philippe Mateta to AC Milan and then maybe Juventus, but not so. It hasn't happened for him. And the big question over there tonight, and it's headline news in Italy as well as it is here, why didn't it happen? So Daniele Fisichella, Italian football expert who joins us live, why didn't it happen? Why is Mateta not going to AC Milan? Good evening.
Good evening. Because Milan, after Mateta done the medical last night in London, they wanted to do more exam. They wanted to double check the condition of his knees. So AC Milan sent the doctor of the club today in London to meet the player, to assess him. And around midday, the report came back, and the Milan doctor was not convinced, was not satisfied with the exam results, and said to the club, we shouldn't go ahead with this signing. Milan had already agreed a deal with Mateta, as you said, the 35 million euros, a contract until 2030. That all sorted in the last week. But they were aware of the fact that in 2019, when he was playing for Mainz, he had an operation on his meniscus and he'd been out for 3 months. Then, of course, there was the injury that he picked up in late December in 2025. And because they saw him at least as someone for the future, because it's pretty sure that Milan are going to play in the Champions League next season, well, they couldn't afford to fork out a huge sum, 35 million euros, which would have been the biggest signing in this January transfer window for Serie A, for somebody who they think is not 100%.
And bring us up to date, Daniele. How serious were Juventus in all of this? Were they ready to pounce?
Juventus were aware of the physical issues that Mateta is having. However, they had contacts with the French striker around 15 days ago, but they never quite moved in terms of agreeing a deal, also because Mateta was more convinced to join Milan anyway. They had him almost like a plan B or plan C. Juventus wanted to sign a physical striker, somebody they at the moment don't have, with Dusan Vlahovic still injured, but the first choice for Juventus was Kolo Muani. Then came the idea of having Mateta, then perhaps even Alexander Sorloth for Atletico Madrid. Well, at the end, none of them actually have materialized because Tottenham doesn't let Kolo Muani go, and Mateta just left it too late anyway to sign. But Juventus wanted a different deal with Palace altogether. They wanted a loan deal with a small fee to be paid up front, whereas obviously Palace were much more keen on the offer from Milan, who were ready to pay 35 millions.
Daniele, thank you very much indeed. Daniele Fishichelli. You probably hear Daniele on with Simon and myself, and occasionally Danny or Martin Keown in the mornings between 10 and 1. Thanks to him for his contribution tonight. 20 odd minutes to go until we hit the deadline here in England. Remember, in Scotland, it's a later deadline of 11 o'clock. We'll get to that later because we've got time later. But curiously, Alex, you've brought us the news tonight on Jean-Philippe Mateta. So he's going to stay at Crystal Palace. Am I right? Heading to Crystal Palace inside 7 o'clock. The deadline, of course, is one Jørgen Strand Larsen.
Yeah, that should be done. The fee was agreed yesterday, £43 million plus £5 million in add-ons, although I'm told those add-ons might be potentially quite difficult to achieve, might rely on Crystal Palace qualifying for Europe again. But this is a player that's well known to the sporting director, Matt Hobbs. You can understand if you're bringing in a big target man, Danny, like Strand Larsen, why they've also made a play for Dwight McNeil at Everton to supply the firepower for Strand Larsen to score the goals to ultimately pilot Palace away from any potential relegation.
Well, Danny, before you come in, not everybody is a fan of Strand Larsen. Your old chum, my sparring partner, Simon Jordan, has his own view. This is Simon.
My views on that are clear, but I'm not a scout. And my views, I went and watched Gerard Bowen play for Hull 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought he was not particularly good. So that shuts me right up, doesn't it? At the end of the day, I've watched Strand Larsen. I think he's a donkey. If Palace think he's something different, and they've got the replacement, some would say 18 months ago that Mateta is one. You know, and he's hit a vein of form under Oliver Glasner. Everybody in the end gets what they deserve. You can look at the karma that goes around football and work out where it lands. The fact is, he wants to leave. He's entitled to leave. Palace can bank a load of cash on him, buy a new player that wants to come to Crystal Palace and move on. The manager's going to go. They'll replace him with another manager that will hopefully keep Palace afloat in the Premier League, and order will be returned.
Well, now, Danny, 48 million quid for a donkey. I don't think so. What's your stake? You're taking Strand Larsen.
I think it's an easy narrative to just jump on recent performances. He had the injury at the start of the season. He's walked into back into a team and squad that can't win football matches. He's not getting much service. He's a 1 in 3 type guy. When you look at his he's only 25. His last 2 seasons, 14 in 38 for Wolves in a poor side. It's not bad. It's decent. He's a handful. He's a physical presence. And a year before that in Spain, 13 in 39 or something like that. So 1 in 3. If you're Palace, you're not going to get a striker who's banging in 1 in 2 in one of the big leagues in Europe. It's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So it's kind of horses for courses, really. I think people will be pleasantly surprised by his quality. He's a big, strong boy who's got tidy feet, and he'll score some goals for him as long as he gets the service. I mean, Dwight McNeil would be a good addition to their wide players because they've got some good ones already.
Is he a downgrade on Mateta?
There's not much. I mean, Mateta at his best last season, you could argue it was a real handful, but we very rarely see that from Mateta in all his time.
Right.
You know, he's been there quite a long time and failed.
Yeah.
It's only last season he really come to the fore and had that purple patch.
Okay.
And he's, 4 years older than Strand Larsen, so it makes sense.
Okay, I'm moving it along because 15 minutes until we hit the deadline itself. Alex keeping on checking his phone. We'll get to him in a second. So Jurgen Strand Larsen heading from Wolves to Crystal Palace. Jean-Philippe Mateta heading back from Italy to Crystal Palace. And that's where we're at the moment. Where are Arsenal in all of this? Mikel Merino has got himself an injury, a fracture as I understand it. He's going to be out for a period of time. So what are Arsenal and what are Arteta going to do about that? Arteta was asked actually earlier today, you're going to seek a replacement for him?
Of course. I mean, when you lose a big player like this in the squad with 4 months to go and all the competitions to play for, you need to look, and we need to do everything that we possibly can to see if we have a player that is available. And if we don't, okay, we keep what we have.
Alex, bring us all up to date on this. Where are we? Because at one point I was hearing Newcastle's Tonali to fill the breach.
Yeah, that story was quickly distinguished this morning. That there was a story over in Germany that Arsenal had made an inquiry for Tonali. That was shot down not just by Newcastle, who clearly don't want to lose one of their star midfielders, but by Arsenal as well. Then there was a claim from our colleague David Ornstein in The Athletic that actually it was Tonali's agent who had facilitated contact with Arsenal. The agent has publicly denied that, but I'm tempted to come down on the side of David Ornstein, to be honest. I think this could be the start of the end of Sandro Tonali's Newcastle career. I think come the summer, now that clubs are aware that maybe there's an opportunity to get him out of St James's Park, not just big clubs in this country, but maybe in his native Italy will come to the fore as well. So I don't think we've heard the last of Tonali. The one player I'm told Arsenal did inquire for today is Leon Goretzka at Bayern Munich. We know he's a free agent at the end of the season when his contract comes to an end. He'll be leaving Bayern. But again, that one was quickly ended, really. I think it was quite a short conversation. So it looks like Arsenal won't be signing anyone today. They have got Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's been training at their training ground. So I do wonder down the line, if they don't fill their Premier League squad because Marino is injured, maybe a short-term contract for him until the end of the season.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know the urgency in trying to replace him, really, because when you think of the positions he plays, either an 8, a 10 or a 9, Havertz is back. He can play 2 of those roles. They've got Norgard, who's very competent midfielder, who's hardly played any games, and he's sat on the sidelines waiting to get more game time, who can play that role as an 8.
So where's the fire?
Is it paranoia because their season's unravelled because of injuries the last 2 years?
Maybe a little bit. I don't think he should worry. Probably why they haven't gone and got someone for the sake of it. Goretzka would have been amazing because he's a serial winner.
Big money, I think, in terms of wages.
Okay.
Yeah. Very briefly, before I go back to Palace, Axel Disasi, you have news on him tonight.
Yeah,
for West Ham. Is it done?
This one has been a bit of a roller coaster throughout the day. It took a long time from West Ham agreeing the loan deal with Chelsea to actually turn up for his West Ham medical. He has now done his medical, as far as I'm told, but there are hurdles to overcome. So this one, I think, is back in the balance. I do question just how much desire Axel Disasi actually has deep down to make this move. So whether this gets done in the next 10 minutes, I think is unlikely. You do have the opportunity to put a deal sheet in and get an extra couple of hours. But at the moment, this is 50-50, I think. 50-50.
Danny, why would he not want to move to West Ham? He's been out of the front line now he's been in the Chelsea bomb squad, so-called, for a year. He's been well out of it. Nowhere near the first team. This is a chance to get back and play football, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it was a permanent move, then there's an argument to say, why do I want to go to a club that's in the bottom three and could be relegated? He probably puts himself on a higher level than that. If it's just a loan, doesn't seem to be any reason why you wouldn't want to just go out and show people how good you are, get some fitness.
You'd want to play?
Yeah.
You would think. All right, where are we now? 10 minutes until we hit the deadline. Crystal Palace fans getting in touch. We want you to get in touch. 03717 223344, because you're getting used to the news that, yes, you're going to get Strand Larsen, but you're also going to keep Jean-Philippe Mateta. But as Alex has rightly outlined, Mateta may not be playing in the coming days and weeks. So you might just be focusing your attention on Strand Larsen. But if Mateta comes back, do you welcome him back with open arms? 03717 223344. It's been quite a 9 months for you Palace fans, has it not? Your club lifted the FA Cup since then. They faced a Europa League demotion. You lost Eze, you lost Gehi, you lost Mateta, and Oliver Glasner announced his departure at the end of the season. That's a lot to digest.
Henderson takes the goal kick. Now everybody is looking at Stuart Atwell because the 10 minutes are up and the Eagles have landed it. Crystal Palace win the FA Cup for the very first time.
I would have loved my father to be here. Obviously he was a Crystal Palace fan, played for Crystal Palace in the 50s. His father supported Palace. He'd have loved to have seen this.
I think it'll be a disgrace, and I think UEFA should hang their heads in shame if they make an example out of a club like Crystal Palace.
It was a great moment, but yeah, I was worried about what was coming.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, wasn't it? And I mean, the whole thing is a pretty sorry episode, really.
Ball inside the area, Eze! The penalty, Eze!
Arsenal make a move for Eberechi Eze, and the 27-year-old wants to join them.
Teddy down, and he's side-footed in for the equalising goal. Mark Gehi.
My latest understanding that the deal with Mark is in the final stages.
I know what winning feels like, and I won't stop until I get that same feeling.
Ball across, looking for Mateta. Heads it low down into the bottom corner.
He's irrelevant. He wants to leave. So his ambition is not my responsibility. His ambition is not my concern.
My decision has already been taken months ago. I had a meeting with Steve in October, international break, with dinner. Very long talk, and I told him that I will not sign a new contract for Crystal Palace.
Oh, Palace fans, what do you make of it? Eze's gone, Gehi's gone, Mateta went, but he's coming back. Glasner's going. What do you make of it all? Danny, with 10 minutes to we hit the deadline itself. Palace, where'd you start?
Well, I feel for the fans first and foremost. I mean, to see the best season they've ever had and then the absolute capitulation of everything good. The manager's leaving, the captain left, all the stuff you mentioned. And this Mateta situation and saga seems to just be the icing on the cake, if you like. It's right now, they've got to stay in the league. Got to avoid being sucked in because their form is horrendous.
Do you think Glasner was right, Danny, to openly question the club's ambitions?
No.
And to publicly, openly question the club's ambition?
No, he's got every right, after what he's done at that football club, to go and speak to the hierarchy and say whatever he feels and walk or make a decision to carry on after getting everything off his chest and having a man-to-man conversation. As soon as you start going public and demeaning the hierarchy. We've seen it. We saw it at Chelsea recently, didn't we? As soon as you start that game, you're in trouble. I'm amazed he's still in a job.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
You're not the first person that said that to me, Danny. 7 minutes until we hit the deadline. Palace fans, you must be wondering what on earth is going on. Alex Crook is going to bring us an update, amongst other things, on Raheem Sterling in a moment. I call for Palace fans to call us, and you're doing that in big numbers. Scott, why not? 7 minutes out from the deadline. Let's take your call. Crystal Palace fan Scott, what do you want to say? Good evening.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Danny. Jim, great pleasure to speak with both of you. But, Jim, my old man was from Glasgow, and I know I sound English, but big Rangers fan, so I just wanted to say that first.
Wonderful. Thank you, Scott. What do you make of what's going on at your club? And the Mateta situation, Scott? Do you welcome him back with open arms?
Yeah, come on. Look, we are Crystal Palace. We know we're in the pecking order. Danny's right. We need to stay in the league. There's some games coming up, Burnley and Wolves. We can beat them. Glasner's not going to want to go out on a whimper. He's going to want to. He's too professional. He's going to want to finish strong. He's still got the Conference League. We've got players coming back from injury. We've got a lot of forwards coming in.
Yeah,
Mateta will come in and he will. The fans. If he scores a goal and he comes back and we win the Conference League, or it'll be fine.
Sure.
Glasner actually, I thought his body language was a lot better at the game of the weekend. He showed some passion. He was up and down. He was going mad at a few people. It's like he was back involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good to see. Scott, thanks for that. Andy's another Palace fan. Andy, why not jump in? Tell us what you think. Mateta's coming back. Do you welcome him back?
No, I don't, Jim. I think it's a bit deja vu, all this Palace going on, because, if you go back to the last day of the last transfer window, everything was left to the last minute.
Yeah.
We brought in Pino, who's been okay, but last minute, and here we are, we get, a purchase, beginning of the transfer window, as far as Brendan Johnson is concerned. Everybody thought, oh, well, that's it. But we're now in a situation where we're going to have Mateta, Ismail Sarr, Eddie Nketiah, Strand Larsen. We've got no cover for our wing-backs, Daniel Munoz and Mitchell.
Right.
And we had a young lad, Canvo, who was taken off or hooked last week. I just don't feel... I don't know who's doing this, because it can't be Glasner as he's leaving. So who's making these decisions?
That's a good point.
Is it Parish on the basis that he knows who's going to be the manager
Very
and is
good
buying
point.
on their behalf?
Andy, it's deja vu all over again, as someone once said. Here's Alex.
Well, I'll tell you who's making a decision to get deals done tonight. Steve Parish, the Crystal Palace owner. £20 million fee agreed with Everton for Dwight McNeil. McNeil undergoing a Palace medical as we speak. Now, obviously, it's going to be difficult to get this deal done in the next 3.5 minutes. I'd imagine a deal sheet will be in, but that could be 2 signings today for Crystal Palace. Jurgen Strand Larsen from Wolves, and now the man who they think will supply him the bullets to score the goals, Dwight McNeil from Everton.
Palace fan Andy, you're still with us. What do you make of that? Hot off the press. You're going to react to it first.
Yeah. Jim, that's fine. I know we've got Kamada to come back, etc. But, if you look back, I suspect that Glasner probably would have made a different decision if we'd spent this sort of money back in the summer, after we won the FA Cup and decided to do something. Here we are, languishing just above the relegation, and everybody's looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
I still can't see who's buying, because, why would McNeil and, Strand Larsen sign for something when they know the manager is off in 3 months' time? I don't get it.
Great point, Sandy. Thanks so much for joining us. The man Simon Jordan will be with me from 10 tomorrow morning. Maybe he will enlighten us a bit more on that. Danny, on that, what do you make of this? Palace doing a bit of a flurry of late business, clearly.
Well, it's an interesting one, McNeil, because he had a great spell for Everton. Was it last season or the season before? Goals and assists. But he can play as a 10. He can play wide, left and right. He's fit as a fiddle. And I'm just thinking where he fits in if Palace stick with the same system. Or are we looking at a possible more of a 4-4-2 with Mateta and Strand Larsen high up? That's an option for Glasner now, which he hasn't had for a while. So a really experienced player, someone you can rely on. Good deliverer of the ball, both sides of the pitch. With the games they've got in Europe coming up and the amount of Premier League games still to go, I think that's a bit of sensible business.
It's an odd dynamic, though, isn't it, Danny? I mean, there's Dwight McNeil and there's Strand Larsen signing for a football club in the knowledge that the current manager is leaving.
I don't know how they do it, because...
You ever had that?
No, all players are very different. I needed a conversation with the manager because I wanted to say, where do you see me? What position? Where do I play? How you can go somewhere going... Don't worry, we'll get a good manager in and you'll be fine, because no one can guarantee you a place then.
Yeah, exactly. Alex, we're almost a minute out now. Anything you want to throw in at this stage?
Just a little update, actually, on 2 members of the England team that got to the final of the Euros on home soil. Calvin Phillips off to Sheffield United from Manchester City. That was one that caught my attention earlier today. And Raheem Sterling, we're not expecting any definitive movement on him between now and 7 o'clock in the next 30 seconds, but I'm told his most likely destination is going to be a top 3 team within one of the major European leagues. So it looks like Raheem Sterling will be bidding farewell to English football.
Alex, very good indeed. If you're watching us on YouTube, have a look at that. A very familiar situation for myself. We're inside the last 30 seconds, last 20 seconds of the January transfer window. It's all going on out there at this moment. And Alex, myself and Danny are right across the lot. Over 400 million spent in this window. We'll bring you right up to date with who's gone where as the window this January slams shut. I say January, but it's the 2nd of February. You know. Anyway, Alex, right up until the death, I was getting messages, you were getting messages, so was Danny. This is when it really gets interesting. We are now thoroughly into the business end of the January/February window, and a lot of tidying up to do. I don't know about you, Alex. I'm getting a message regards Axel Disasi. He passed his West Ham medical, but the deal was in danger of collapsing because of player demands.
Yep.
But we still feel that the move is more likely to be on than off. Is that what you're getting?
Yeah, those are obviously the hurdles that I was talking about that they need to overcome. If I was a West Ham fan, though, or one of the directors or even the manager, I'd be a little bit concerned that right up until the 7 o'clock deadline, the player seemingly not entirely convinced that he wants to make this move. Bearing in mind, this is a team fighting for their lives at the bottom of the table. Is this the type of personality and character you want in your dressing room?
Yes, indeed. Strand Larsen, you expecting any minute now to get news on him having moved from Wolves in a big money move to Crystal Palace? Any second now we should get the news.
Well, I was told they were hoping to announce that before 7 o'clock. I've just had a message from someone right in the heart of it at Crystal Palace. He said, basically, we've got deals in place now for all the forwards that we wanted. That's Jurgen Strand Larsen and Dwight McNeil. Of course, the big news is that Jean-Philippe Mateta stays a Crystal Palace player. How much game time he'll get for the rest of the season will be fascinating to see, but it looks like Strand Larsen and Dwight McNeil should get over the line as far as Palace are concerned.
And Danny's old club, Jeremy Jacquet, joining Liverpool, had a change of heart and chose Liverpool. It's likely, Danny, I hear he's going to play. Saw sense, says former Liverpool player Danny Murphy. Likely he feels he's going to play more there, especially that Chelsea are recalling Sarr. Chelsea were willing to match everything in the deal that Liverpool have put down.
Yeah, I mean, every young player has different aspirations and also different conversations with each prospective manager or technical directors. There will be a difference in money, I would imagine.
Yeah.
With Liverpool paying better than Chelsea.
Jurgen Strand Larsen is confirmed. It's been officially announced by Crystal Palace in the last minute or so. Jurgen is Palace. 3 words in a tweet. It's a club record signing for Crystal Palace. £43 million plus add-ons. The second time that they've smashed their transfer record in this window. They did it for Brennan Johnson as well.
Do we know what number he's wearing?
So, Alex, will that take it up to about 48 million? 43 plus what?
43 plus 5, but as I say, those add-ons might be a little bit more complicated.
And do you get the same information as I'm getting on Mamadou Sarr, that he's been recalled from loan at Strasbourg? He'll be with the Chelsea squad from tomorrow. He could well be involved in the game against Wolves this coming weekend.
Yeah, he's been recalled. Obviously, they had interest, as you mentioned, in Jeremy Jacquet. The reasons that Chelsea have given us that they pulled out of the race was because they didn't want to stunt the development of the likes of Achiampong and Sarr. I would imagine they just got wind of the fact the player preferred to move to Liverpool, ultimately.
I would imagine as well, I just mentioned it, but the Liverpool do pay more than Chelsea. I mean, that's pretty well known in the industry. So maybe they weighed him in. But also as well, I mean, there's so many things with a young player you never know who he's always supported, who he looks up to, what players. There's so many factors for a young player and why he would move to a certain club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Would Liverpool fans, or Danny, not want to see this fella in now?
Yep.
As opposed to this summer.
I'm really surprised.
He went to Manchester City.
That was a big stipulation, though, from Rem. Whatever club they were going to do business with in this window,
they wanted to keep him.
They were going to keep him for the rest of the season.
But surely they needed him to fill that Gahey-sized hole, if you like.
Needed somebody.
So
if the stipulation from Ren was that you can buy him for the future, which fits the model for Liverpool, a young, up-and-coming player, when likes of Ekitike, Kirkes, Wirtz, fine, have him in the summer. But then Liverpool should have been looking to do some loan business, because I still don't see the cover.
Yeah.
They're still fighting for that Champions League and FA Cup.
Yeah.
season ain't off. It's not written off.
Yeah, Liverpool fans, one of your own is with Alex and myself. Danny's in studio here tonight, but Rennes defender Jeremy Jacquet. Now, it's all but done. It's finalised. 55 million plus 5, 60 million, but he joins in the summer. So what are they getting in Jeremy Jacquet? Respected journalist in France, speak to him so often. He is the best of the best. Eric Bielderman, good evening to you. Tell me about Jeremy Jacquet, Eric.
Yeah, good evening, my friend. So Jeremy Jacquet is a bet. I think it's a clever bet in terms of the quality of the player. Then the price is a very huge price for the French market. So maybe for Liverpool is gambling money, but for us it's the money that normally you buy a world-class player, which is not so far the case. But he's a very promising central defender, very skillful, because as a young apprentice he was a midfield player. So he's very good in passing short, medium, long-range balls.
I see. He's one of their own, isn't he? He came through the Rennes Academy, so he's a one-club boy, is he not?
Yeah, he's a one-club boy, but in the meantime, he had 2 long sessions with Clermont when Clermont, a couple of years ago, was fighting to save their status in the French Premier League. They got relegated with him as a central defender for part of the season. Then he went back to Rennes and was back again on loan to Clermont in the second division for 6 months. So he's a 2-club man in a certain extent, as he spent half of the last 2 years in a weaker team than Rennes.
Eric, do you think I know he's not coming tomorrow. He's not coming anytime soon. He's joining in the summer. But even though he's just 20 years of age, is he Premier League ready?
He has some very positive points. I would say that he's a very good tackle. He has a good vision. He's quick and tall. He's very accurate on his passing the ball. He's a quiet character. So all that, I would say, this is a positive point. Then, as he's a tall man, 1.90 m, he's quite physically a bit light to me. He's under 80 kilos. So I do believe that he will need to work hard for his physical body to go for the challenge. That might be one point we have to work on. And the second point that we do have to check at him, as you say, is a young player, promising player, with sometimes lack of concentration. Sometimes during a game, he can be a bit volatile. That's something that is part of a young fellow who is under 21 French international and have just one season, I would say, only with Rennes as a first team regular player. I would say even half a full season.
Eric, how would you compare him to Lenny Yoro, someone else who made his name in France, someone else that Liverpool were looking at before he went to Manchester United? Are there similarities there?
You know, to me, this player, I think we do have with Jacquet a more complete player to be. I don't think he's the same maturity. I don't think he has the same physical power. But as an ex-midfield player, it can bring something that I would say it's an old example that I would bring on. When 25 years ago we had Laurent Blanc, who was a midfield player, finished his career as a central defender, I would say a very clever, very skillful. He can have this kind of quality football. He needs to work on his physical compared to Euro, as you mentioned as an example. And I do believe that now, 6 months on before to go to Liverpool, he will work on the process of the physical power, and he will know, and Liverpool will know what they do have to expect from him. And I think you will have to be a bit patient when he will be there in a 6 month time before to check if he is really the man that we do expect. But when you have Konate, when you have Van Dijk, please be patient. He's not so far the same player.
So Eric's saying the message tonight is be patient. I'm not sure that Liverpool are in a position to be patient, Danny, are they?
Well, I think they will be Konate looks like he's going to go because he's on a free.
Yeah.
And then Liverpool will buy another.
Right.
And a more accomplished one, I would imagine.
Okay.
So, yeah. You need three.
Eric, before you leave us, Eric, one of the headline stories making the news here tonight on Transfer Deadline Day. We're through the deadline now back here in England. It's a later deadline in Scotland, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But Eric, one of the headlines tonight is one of your countrymen, Jean-Philippe Mateta, looked as if he was going to leave Crystal Palace and go to AC Milan. Then it might be Juventus. What do you know? He's coming back to London and he's going to stay for the time being with Palace.
Yeah, it looks like he failed at in-depth physical test.
With the test, right.
Sorry.
What's the perception of Mateta in France with the World Cup coming up?
I think he's the sub of the sub of the sub. We don't expect him to be in the 26 players squad if everybody is available. Then we know that 6 months before we might have some dirty surprise with Dembele since he had the Ballon d'Or. He had several injuries. He seems to be in a very hectic season. We have had a lot of Paris Saint-Germain players like Doué, also Zaire Emery. We all have players who are sure to be on the 26 players list, which have had a lot of injury due to the fact that they didn't have a rest during the summer season with the World Cup. So Mateta can be an exciting player due to the fact that he is having, I would say, a specific way of playing football. He's tall, he's strong, he's good in the air. He can play as Giroud did, keeping the ball, turning, and to bring the wingers to get some spaces.
Yeah.
So on that, to me, is an interesting player, but I won't say he's going to be. And the fact that he's not going to be to Milan AC will not help him to be under the limelight.
Okay. Eric, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Merci à vous, Eric Bilderman.
Ciao, my friend.
Thank you so much. Merci, Eric. Eric Bilderman of L'Equipe. Danny, on Liverpool, are we rewriting history here? How can Liverpool go from winners of the summer window, and they were Wirtz, Isak, Ekitike. You said to me there and then, it's virtually sewn up. Sorry to remind you, Danny, to what is a transitional season.
Well, let's be perfectly honest about it. I don't think anybody at the club or anybody around the club or even what we do in the punditry world predicted this and saw what was coming.
Yeah.
I don't think they expected, even though they had such a turnaround of play. Nobody would want, after winning a league, to lose 3 or 4 really senior members of the team.
Yeah.
That happened, and they had to replace them and add some. And it was too many at once. And too many of them failed. Now, some of them are coming to the fore now. Wirtz has picked up. We can see what a quality player he is. Obviously, Isak's got the injury. Only Ekitike, for the first, 4 months of the season, 5 months of the 4 months of the season, really hit the ground running.
Well, that's right. But Jimmy Carragher, just before Christmas, Danny, Liverpool need to spend in January. They need to buy a centre-back. Well, they've got one, Jeremy Jacquet, but he's not coming till the summer.
Oh, I agree with him wholeheartedly. They needed to get someone.
Yeah.
If Gomez could stay fit, he's a good backup. He's an international footballer. The reality is, Gomez can't stay fit, Jim. Leone, we saw once, who looked a really good prospect.
Yeah.
The Italian boy, he's done his knee, of course, which is bad luck. A club of Liverpool's size, resources, should have found someone.
Should have done it. Okay, 7:15. It's Jim White, it's Alex Crook, and it's Danny Murphy. We're live on Transfer Deadline Day. Alex, what have you got?
Just want to bring you up to date on the deal sheets that have gone into the Premier League. So the window closed at 7, but if you submitted a deal sheet and you could prove that deals were so far along, then clubs get an extra 2 hours to negotiate those deals. There's a deal sheet in, I'm told, for Crystal Palace and Dwight McNeil. That'll be a loan initially with a £20 million obligation, as I suggested an hour or so ago, because they haven't got the Mateta money in this window. They've had to be a little bit creative there, Crystal Palace. Deal sheet in for Everton, who are trying to sign Tyreek George from Chelsea's past his medical. deal sheet in for your man Disassi at West Ham, but there is a confidence, as we've already articulated, that move will go ahead. And deal sheets in at Wolves for their 2 deadline day signings. Angel Gomez on loan from Marseille, and also Adam Armstrong, who's going to be the Strand Larsen replacement from Southampton. So that's bringing you bang up to date. And on Jeremy Jacquet as well, I'm told his Liverpool medical has gone without a hitch. We could even get a formal statement from Liverpool tonight confirming that £60 million acquisition.
Okay, Alex, let's head to the northeast because the transfer window and all the activity around it isn't the only thing that's grabbing our attention tonight. There's a small matter of the Premier League match. Sunderland versus Burnley. It's live on talkSPORT 2. Let's get the team news. Good evening, Graham Courtney.
Yeah, hi, Jim. Sunderland, couple of changes from that dismal 3-1 defeat at West Ham at the weekend. Romain Mundle and Eliza Mayenda, they dropped down to the bench. Talby and Diarra are the 2 that come in. Still no Granit Xhaka. Boy, are they missing him. As for Burnley, single change following their excellent 2-2 draw with Spurs, and lucky not to win, actually. And it's a change up front. Armando Broja dropping down to the bench. Lyle Foster comes in. Sunderland have won just 1 of the last 6. Perhaps they're getting found out. Burnley unbeaten in their last 4. They're improving. Should be good, though. Full commentary, as you say, Jim, on talkSPORT 2 of this one. It's Sunderland against Burnley. 8 o'clock kickoff at the Stadium of Light.
Great stuff, Graham. Looking forward to that. Sunderland, of course, up against Burnley. We'll bring you updates live on this very show. But has your club done business in this window? If they have, if the club has, are you pleased with the business that it's done? Palace fans tell me about Strand Larsen coming in from Wolves. 43 million plus 5, 48 million pound deal. Is he worth the money? You know what the man Jordan thinks in the mornings? Very definitely not worth the money. But what do you think? Do you welcome him at Selhurst Park with open arms? Do you welcome Jean-Philippe Mateta back to Selhurst Park with open arms? 03717 223344. Liverpool have got themselves a defender, Jeremy Jacquet. Not for now, but for the summer. 60 million quid. After what you heard from Danny there, and we've heard from Jamie Carragher in terms of his quotes before Christmas, maybe they should have moved quicker and get somebody else in, or Jacquet in, but now, not at the end of the season. And at Spurs, Daniel Levy has gone. So what is it? A bold new era or same old, same old? Spurs fans, we want to hear from you. 03717 223344. Jim White, Alex Crook and Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT on Transfer Deadline Day.
Tottenham 2, Manchester City 2, a result I didn't really expect at all at half-time. The sad thing was,
game of 2 halves.
I know there was a lot of talk about the atmosphere, but the atmosphere wasn't angry in that first half. I think we all looked at the team and thought, wow, we could get it, our backsides handed to us here. And then the team kind of lived down to our expectations in the first half. And it was very flat. It was an apathetic, flat performance. We had no expectations. And then they suddenly came alive in the second half, and it doesn't take much. It just takes a bit of intent, just a little bit of belief, and the place was transformed.
The professional football people, of which I certainly don't count you two and myself, there's an illusion that the crowd must lift the team. The thing that works, and really the only thing that ever really, really works, with one or two exceptions, maybe the Leeds crowd can lift their team.
Good evening, everybody. It is coming up to 7:20 this Monday evening. No ordinary Monday evening, though. This has been Transfer Deadline Day. The deadline, we have come through it. It was 7 o'clock. We're now in the back end of it, and we're looking around seeing who has done what business. As equally importantly, who has done next to no business. If so, Why? Has your club done what you would have wished them to do? Or would you have expected more? Manchester United fans, did you think that the hierarchy might do some business for Michael Carrick, who, to say the least of it, has hit the ground running? No business done. Wonder what Alex thinks of that, what Danny thinks of that. And, of course, Tottenham fans, Spurs post Daniel Levy, the bold new era or same old, same old? How all in have they gone for Thomas Frank in this window? We want to hear from you as well. 03717 223344. I want to hear from Alex at this stage because, Alex, I see you feverishly looking at your phone and making some notes. What have you got?
Do you know what? I was just trying to work out who I thought the biggest winner in this transfer window were, and I think Bournemouth have got a shout. They've gone under the radar. They made an awful lot of money for Antoine Semenyo. That'll be a club record sale. They've got a new goalkeeper in Christos Mandas to put pressure on Petrovic. They've signed Rayan and fended off a lot of European and Saudi interest in him.
Yeah.
A 19-year-old Brazilian with a 100 million release clause in his Bournemouth contract. They've got Alex Toth coming in midfield. I think Bill Foley has backed Andoni Iraola, and who knows, maybe that might be enough to convince Iraola to extend his contract come the end of the season.
Danny, I think it's a great point that he makes. Quietly under the radar, Bill Foley and Bournemouth have gone about very effective business.
They have indeed, and also as well, if you think about who they lost in the summer and how they started the season and the good results they had to put them in away from any danger. I know they had a bad run recently, but that tells you even more about their recruitment and what players they had ready to come into those positions already. Fantastic club. With what they've got, they do remarkably well, and you could put them on a par with Brighton to a degree in that respect now.
Yeah, I can see message after message after message coming in from Manchester United fans. No business done. Now, they've alighted upon Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick has arrived and he's hit the ground running, not least with that 3-2 win over Arsenal at the Emirates recently. They're flying along there, and these United fans, Alex, to a man, to a woman, are saying, why have they not done business with Carrick in situ? Were they ever likely to?
No. I think you forget who owns the football club. It's Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos take a lot of the flack for the day-to-day things that go wrong, but it's still the Glazers who are signing the cheques, and you give them an excuse not to invest in the team and they'll take it. And then they've got an interim manager in Michael Carrick in charge. What better excuse do you need than the fact you've only got a manager until the end of the season not to strengthen the squad? I hope it doesn't come back to haunt them because they're in a brilliant position now. 3 successive wins under Carrick. They're in the top 4. They've got a favourable run of fixtures. They've got no European football. I think it'll be a failure on behalf of Manchester United if they don't achieve Champions League football next season.
Do you not think because they've got no European football and they've got just the Premier League to focus on,
that's a good point,
why they haven't gone in?
Yeah.
And also, let's be honest,
the business they did before as well with Mbuemo.
Yeah.
And with
Cunha. The quality United need to improve the team is probably not available in January.
Is Conor Gallagher an upgrade on Manuel Ugarte?
Yeah, but I don't think Conor Gallagher would want to go there and sit behind Casemiro and Mainu, would he? He probably wants to play and probably...
And on Mainu, Danny, it could have been a very different window for him, Alex, if Ruben Amorim had still been in situ.
It would have been. I think we'd have been sat here now either talking about the fact that Kobbie Mainu, a poster boy of the academy, had left the football club, or we'd have been talking about the fact that Kobbie Mainu is very frustrated. He's been unable to leave the football club, and I'm delighted for Mainu, the fact that he's managed to get back in the team, the fact he's managed to make a fool out of Ruben Amorim, because I was getting people telling me, Danny, that Kobbie Mainu's not very good, and I couldn't get my head around it.
The only
I
thing...
think he's such a talent, Mainu.
He's a super talent. The only thing with Kobbie Mainu was that defensively at times he can switch off. I mean, he's a brilliant footballer. You know, he's a young lad. Of course he's not going to have a perfect all-round game.
Yeah.
The reality is, I'll tell you where he deserves so much credit, Kobbie Mainu.
Kept his head down.
Well, not just the way he's conducted himself, but more so to come back into the team after hardly playing. The enormity of those games, the pressure on him to play well in those games.
He's only 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people think because you're young, you've just got automatic fitness.
He kept his head down, but his brother didn't.
No, that's true. But for him to, he's doing something right physically in training, even though he doesn't think he's got a chance of playing under Amorim, to then be ready to go when it changes, because he probably felt this is going to change. Carrick puts him straight in. He's ready.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yes, it's going to get lively. So many Manchester United fans calling in, so many Tottenham Hotspur fans calling in as well. And I love this, because where are you at with your club and the business that they've done? And maybe more appropriately as regards Tottenham Hotspur, the business they haven't done. In came Conor Gallagher from Atletico Madrid, 35 million quid, and that's been it. So Tottenham post Levy, is it the bold new era? Or is it same old, same old? And you might remember what the chief exec, Vinay Venkatesham, told us as recently as September.
We've got an extraordinary stadium. We've got an extraordinary training centre. I admit I'm biased because I grew up in London. I think we're based in the best city in the world. And we've got a massive global fan base. We saw in May in Bilbao what that next step is. That next step is competing for and ultimately winning major trophies. Listen, I think it is very fair to say that we have firm backing from the Lewis family against our ambitions to be successful on the pitch, both on the men's side and women's side. They know that's going to require investment, and we have their firm backing. But I would also say, like all other 20 Premier League clubs, we also need to make sure that we're also cognizant and aware of the financial fair play rules. And that means we need to continue to grow our revenues. We need to continue to develop players, both from the academy and young players that we buy. We need to make sure that we're selling players at the right time. And we also need to make sure that every time we're recruiting a player, we're making smart decisions, both from a sporting perspective and a financial perspective. If you don't do that, because of how the financial regulations work, you can find yourself in a position where you've got money to spend, but the regulations don't allow you to spend it.
All sounds very good. The first transfer window in 25 years without Daniel Levy at Spurs. So what is it, Tottenham fans? Is it this bold new era? What is it? You tell us. Here's Jason, Spurs fan, who joins Alex, myself and Danny this Monday night. Jason, you're talking to the talkSPORT audience. Good evening. A bold new era? Is it one?
I mean, a BS era. I mean, it's just, it's honestly, it's incredible, because there were so many people with Levy out, Levy out, Levy out. I'm telling you now, if Levy was there at the moment, he would have done some loan deals. Considering the state of the squad at the moment, with the amount of injuries that we've got, he would have business. What I find so incredibly frustrating is that this board have come out and said that they've got, I think they said 100 million to spend on transfer, and they're going to change the way the wages are paid, and they're going to try and compete with basically the top four clubs, if you like. Why come out and say that type of stuff if you don't mean it? And why is Levy not there? Why have they never come out and actually told us the truth about what's actually gone on with Levy? We're fans, we're supporters. The atmosphere yesterday for the first half, honestly, I've never known a stadium to be that quiet, because we're just so frustrated with.
Actually, do you know, Jason? I need you to do something for me. I've heard this so often today from a variety of different sources. Tell me about that atmosphere in that first half. What was it like?
It was somber. It reminded me of kind of being. It was almost like being at a funeral, and you just kind of felt really, really sad and upset. And it's like, I'm not even frustrated anymore. There was just everyone around me just looked miserable.
An acceptance.
Acceptance, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel a resignation.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know, I know that at the back of everyone's mind, they're thinking about, obviously, Arsenal got the win yesterday, and really it was all down to Man City to really try and keep that race properly alive. And as a Spurs fan, all I cared about yesterday was getting some points on the table, because the last thing I don't really care anymore about what happens to Arsenal. They win the league, they don't win the league. I don't want to be put into a relegation battle. I feel for Thomas Frank, because they haven't sacked him, but they're clearly not backing him. So where does he stand in all of this?
Jason, many good points you have made in a very measured way that we're going to answer in a second, or certainly attempt to. Phil's a big Spurs fan. Phil, good evening. Do you echo what Jason is saying there?
I'll go a little bit than that.
Go on, Phil.
I'm tired of people saying it's family.
We're just losing his line. We will move on. In fact, here's Stephen, who's cropped up. So many Spurs fans, one goes, another pops up. Stephen, good evening. Where do you stand in all of this?
Jim, I spoke to you a week ago with Simon, but I backed up what I say, Jim. But I said to you last time, you've got a owner that they have no interest in the club. It's an asset. You've got Vino Venkatesan, who worked his way up to the top of Arsenal, but he doesn't have an actual experience in football. Then you've got Lange, who has spent £430 million in 2 years. That when you look at it, he's never built a squad that's finished higher than 15th in the table. Spurs, since he's been working at Spurs, are 15th. We are a representation of the management that we've got running the club. I'm annoyed, Jim, because I go to my beautiful stadium, I've seen the training ground, I see good players. But just this, Jim, for example, 14 players injured last season at this point, 14 players injured at this point this season. Why? Because the few good players that you've got are constantly playing. Javi Simmons has been injured, Jim. He's got a bruised ankle. He's got ruptured ligaments, People want to call him out for what he's not doing. The guy's playing injured, Jim. Bergvall got injured the other day. He was already injured because you don't have enough players. We've changed medical teams 3 times in 4 seasons. We've changed manager. We've changed everything, DOF. But the only thing we haven't changed is our owners.
Well,
Jim,
right. So, Stephen,
keep
before you go on, did you expect post-Levy that things would change and that you would have a busy window this time?
Yeah, of course we did, Jim, because before we obviously leave on this conversation, we have now, got £100 million invested from the owners. They've then put a further 50 million of the TV money, Then, you know this, Jim, just for a Champions League finishing 4th, people talk about the 45 million that we get from. They don't talk about the extra 15 million in gate receipts. They're sitting on 200 million pounds, Jim. And people know my profile. They're going to know my voice every time I speak on here.
Well, Stephen, I tell you what, you've made so many good points. Go on.
We had a deal for Akalouche, that Monaco people in France have spoken about. Alex knows about this deal, and we haven't done it today because in the summer, his deal expires to 2028, and they say they don't want to pay January prices.
Okay.
Look at Ryan Sherry.
Stephen, take a deep breath. Here's Danny, who is a former player of your club, of course, as well. Did Spurs honestly expect a bold new era post-Levy, Danny? What do you think?
Well, I think there was hope of better. And better, what does better look like is the key. Better looks like more successful recruitment, higher in the wage bill, because Tottenham have the lowest ratio, don't they, to income on terms of wage bills. So being more bold and brave in that area because they've got room to do so.
Yeah.
The only way you really... The other one, just quickly, is the amount of players injured is a concern. Now, if the medical team's changing a lot, something's not right to have that many players injured.
Did you recognise what he was saying there? Could you see what he was saying there about Simmons?
Well,
him and Bergvall maybe
because he watches
play with injury. I find it highly unlikely. But
Simmons has been brilliant the last month.
Yeah,
he doesn't look injured to me. He was brilliant against City at the weekend.
Yeah,
so he's getting better. So that all players play with injuries, Jim. That's part of the course. The reality is they've got enough players when they're all fit. They've got hell. I mean, I could start naming. You've got Kudus, Kulusevski. You've got Richarlison, Solanke, Odebear. You've got who else have they got? Maddison.
Yeah.
Simmons.
Yeah.
They've got top quality international players, right? And they've got enough of them. And that's probably why they're not diving into the market in January, because they've got to get better than what they've got to improve.
Sure.
The only way they get better, yes, spending some money, which they have done in the past, but spending it more wisely and paying more wages, because they will attract bigger name players because of the location and the wonderful facilities they have. You've got to be in a wage bracket to get the best players that they're not in.
Right, I'm with you. One player in, Alex Conor
And they need a goalkeeper.
35 million.
And Sousa, the young defender as well, but that probably wasn't a position they necessarily needed to...
Not a lot of business. Is that a reflection...
They've spent nothing net this window, have they?
Is that a reflection on the hesitation on the part of the hierarchy to totally back Thomas Frank?
Yeah.
Potentially, because, make no bones about it, there were people before this recent upturn, obviously the 2 results they had in the Champions League and coming from behind against Manchester City, there were members of the hierarchy that were having doubts about Thomas Frank. Hopefully that comeback at the weekend for Thomas Frank can be a turning point. But I think also it's a reflection on Tottenham that they've not got new owners. The same owners that Daniel Levy was working for.
Yeah.
So the promise that this was suddenly going to be a completely different Tottenham, I never bought into it. I knew Simon Jordan didn't either, and it's their first transfer window. It's okay. I think Conor Gallagher is a decent addition, but They've not pulled up any trees in the market, have they? And we'll see what they do in the summer.
Still a lot to get through, of course. Just gone 7:30 this Monday night, and we are live on talkSPORT. Transfer deadline day is coming and going for another occasion. We're live on YouTube and your smart TV. We're live in talkSPORT as well. Sheffield United have signed Calvin Phillips on loan. Go for it, Calvin. I met you at Leeds many years ago. Lovely guy. Hope we can get some game time behind him now. We're live in talkSPORT. Stay with us.
Sad, isn't it? Sad. You know what I mean? I'm still shaking my head. You know what I mean? Would you do it again? I bloody will do it again. Actually, I think if I had been a bit more mobile, I might have done a knee slide. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That would have only got me a yellow as well.
Ah, David. So he got booked, Simon. He got booked, Martin, and he was. I mean, a lot of that I think is tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
is it not? Yeah. I mean, if they say, okay, we'll make in special cases you can come out your technical area. No.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, the fact that it looks like a cross between David Pleat on a mobility scooter is a problem for him.
Or David Pleat.
Yeah, but the fact is that the technical area is big enough for them to celebrate in. It's been made bigger than back in the day when you had managers that meant as much to them. Back in the day, you didn't see Bob Paisley doing a knee slide, did you? The fact is that if you let a manager do this, then they'll take it to the next level.
Did Mourinho not do it in midweek then?
Well,
no, it's a bit of emotion.
Inconsistency. No, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's no need any.
It is transfer deadline day and we're into the evening of it. It's Jim White, it's Alex Crook and it's Danny Murphy. We are live on talkSPORT. The deadline, of course, in England at least, was 7 o'clock. We're through that. 11 o'clock up in Scotland. We'll get to that. Celtic have signed Junior Adamu from Freiburg, a forward, 24 years of age. He signed on loan. But Celtic, as we understand it, have said no, not once, not twice, but 3 times to Nottingham Forest today for Arne Engels, the Belgian. The last bid coming in, Alex, am I right? 25 million, and it's a no from Martin O'Neill's Celtic.
Yes, huge money to turn down. 20 million up front plus £5 million in add-ons. We know that Martin O'Neill was desperate to keep Engels. Ultimately, the board have backed their manager and probably appeased their fans who are not happy with the way the club is being run in the process. Maybe one of the reasons it didn't seem such an attractive deal to Celtic, because £25 million is a huge amount of money to a club in Scotland. They have a sell-on to his former employers at Augsburg, so they would have lost some of that fee. So maybe that is one of the reasons, or maybe ultimately Martin O'Neill has just got his way.
And the curious, the story, if you like, Alex, with the twist in the tail tonight, obviously centres around Crystal Palace because Strand Larsen has joined or is joining from Wolves, 48 million quid. Jean-Philippe Mateta had left but is on his way back tonight.
Yes, the tale of two strikers, really. That Strand Larsen deal was announced bang on 7 o'clock, £43 million, plus 5 in add-ons. Obviously, that's the second time this window they've broken their transfer record. Brennan Johnson coming in for £35 million from Tottenham, and they've got a deal sheet in for Dwight McNeil. Again, I think it was a difficult start to the window. They knew they were going to lose Mark Gay. Obviously, he went to Manchester City. Then Oliver Glasner threw his toys firmly out the pram, and you wondered how this window would end for Crystal Palace. But ultimately, I think they've signed 3 Premier League proven players. They believe they've got the firepower now to get themselves away from any lingering threat of relegation danger. And they have kept Jean-Philippe Mateta. How much he's going to play, we don't know yet. But ultimately, it's competition, isn't it? Strand Larsen, Mateta and Eddie Nketiah.
Too late now, Danny, but are you still somewhat frustrated that Mark Gahey's not in a Liverpool shirt? Jeremy Jackie will be in a Liverpool shirt, but not until the summer. But Gahey now, we know, of course, joined Manchester City.
I think you have to be frustrated because he's such a classy footballer and ready-made. There's no risk. And you're getting him for peanuts. I know City have paid him a fortune, but Liverpool was so close to getting him. Yeah, it's leaves a bit of taste, that one.
Yeah. Would it have been a better career move, do you think, Alex, to go to Liverpool than City? Or has he done the right thing, taking City?
If you win things at Liverpool, you're remembered forever. And that's partly, with City, not so much, because they're winning so often.
Is he a guaranteed starter right now ahead of Van Dijk and Konate? I know Konate's not had a brilliant season. He's the guaranteed starter at City.
I think irrelevant, really, because starting next season he would be.
It's a World Cup year.
Well, he's going to play, isn't he? Because even Konate, he's just been out for a couple of weeks. Van Dijk, you could rest him more for the big, there's lots of what you could play with a 3. He just gives you so many options. He's such a classy player.
Well, Gahey's a City player, and that is that. In the meantime, as if transfer deadline day wasn't enough, it's time for this.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
It is 20 to 8 this Monday night. Ladbrokes' Nicola McGeady joins us live. And Nicola, in about 20 minutes from now, kick-off, of course, up in the northeast. Sunderland and Burnley in the Premier League. It's live in talkSPORT 2. What are you thinking?
Yeah, good evening, Jim. Lovely to chat to you. I mean, a lot of people would have had Sunderland down as relegation candidates before a ball was kicked this season, but they've been fantastic and they're strong favourites to defeat Burnley at the Stadium of Light, especially with their unbeaten home record this season. They are the only team to be unbeaten at home this season. It is a fortress, and punters only see a home win, which is priced at 4-5. The form book for Burnley doesn't instill much confidence. They're literally 1-33 for relegation. You know, they haven't won a game in 14 league matches. They've lost 7 of the last 10 away games. So an upset on the cards is in there at 17-5. There will be punters willing to give Burnley a chance of getting something from this. Obviously, after recent draws with Spurs and Liverpool, the draw is priced at 5-2. But, you know, given both sides' low-scoring averages, we're not going to expect a goal fest here. Under 2.5 goals is priced at 8-11.
Okay, Nicola. Danny, what do you think? The punters, Nicola's saying, go with Sunderland tonight. Do you?
Yep. Hard not to.
Yeah.
It's such a wonderful home record, and if those fans behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be amazed if if Burnley get a draw, they've done well.
Okay, Sunderland Burnley live on talkSPORT 2. Nicola, Premier League outright betting. Where are we tonight? I mean, has it changed after the weekend?
Yeah, well, obviously Arsenal cemented their position further at the head of the betting. They moved 6 points clear, beating Leeds 4-0. So City and Villa dropped points, and so it's good news for Arsenal fans. They're now moving in and shortening up all the time for the title. I think they're around maybe 4-9 right now, but City, they're out to 9-2. They remain their only real rivals. It looks like a 2-horse race, but very much in Arsenal's favour right now. The next best are Villa at 33-1. But the race for the final Champions League spot really tightened as well over the weekend with Man United, Liverpool and Chelsea. Man United's surge under Carrick probably being, the most exciting to watch because, they've won their 3rd straight game. They've passed Chelsea and Liverpool into the 4th place, and now they're even money. Liverpool still ahead in the betting for the 4th spot at 8-11, with Chelsea 7-5 for that top 4 spot.
Okay, Nicola, let's look ahead to tomorrow's Carabao Cup clash. Of course, course, it's the semi-final second leg. Arsenal against Chelsea. And it's live on talkSPORT. Arsenal won the first one 3-2. Where are you going with this?
They did. It should be a very entertaining game at the Emirates because it's not over yet. Chelsea showed such spirit to keep it close in the first leg, and again at the weekend when they came back from 2-0 down against West Ham. So, you know, Arsenal, they're obviously the favourites. They're league leaders, unbeaten in their last 9 games against Chelsea, and that stat will definitely be on Chelsea's mind. So, yeah, Arsenal strong favourites at 4-6 here in 90 minutes. They're as short as 1-12 to make it to Wembley, with Chelsea 11-2 to qualify and 18-5 in 90 minutes. I don't think a draw would be the worst shout, priced at 3-1. You know, Arsenal, I think it'll be a draw on Arsenal in half-time, full-time market at 18-5. You know, I think it's going to be close enough. But you never know, Jim. We might get to see extra time or even penalties. We'll see, but it should be an interesting game.
Nicola, we've got to finish with this. We'll be picking our Ladisfaction moment of the weekend. So what was yours from the weekend, Nicola?
Well, it's got to be Man United's 3-2 win over Fulham. That dramatic 94th minute winner. Just obviously it was very exciting. It was a real chaotic end altogether, with Fulham obviously equalising in stoppage time before that late strike. So I'm sure you've gathered I'm a Man United fan at this point. But yeah, that made it all the more interesting now for the top 4 spot, and that was my favourite moment of the weekend.
Nicola, thank you so much. That's Ladisfaction. We'll be picking our very own Ladisfaction magic moments of the weekend later on in the show. And it's all thanks to Ladbrokes, 18+, gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Alex Crook and Danny Murphy alongside me, Jim White, on this transfer deadline day. We're picking over the bones of what happened as we built up to the 7 o'clock deadline. Thereafter, we're looking at who went where and why. But let me tell you, this Monday night, we are having an enormous number of calls from Tottenham Hotspur fans, and I'll put it out there again. Tottenham Hotspur, post-Daniel Levy, is it a bold new era or is it the same old, same old? How all in have they gone for Thomas Frank in this window? We're going to check out some of the numbers in all of that next, and you don't want to miss this.
Look, Ross the Motherwell fan has texted a little bit cruelly, but says I might be wrong, but I'm sure it was that sausage Rodri that complained about the length of the grass at Hampden when Mighty Scotland pumped Spain 3-2.
He's right.
Do you think, though, in truth, that Rodri he's more frustrated by the level of City's performance than he is by officials?
Well, he has to be, you know, and he'll probably, you know, something. He's just a phenomenal player, Jeff. Absolutely fantastic player. And, you know, there's no getting away from it. And he's not firing on all cylinders yet, coming back for, as you correctly say, a very, very serious injury. And he will get back to fitness. You see signs of it. He's still not there yet. So with that comes frustration, right? There's no getting away from it because you want to be at the level that you know you can be. So you start looking at other things, and other things that generally wouldn't really get to you start annoying you.
Good evening, everybody. So much to get through tonight. It's Jim White, it's Alex Crook, and it's Danny Murphy. And of course, it's been transfer deadline day. We came through the deadline, 7 o'clock, and now we're picking over the bones of who's done what and why. And in Scotland, a bit to go yet. 11 o'clock up there. Now, Nottingham Forest have teased and tempted Celtic into selling Arne Engels today. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. The latest bid was 25 million quid. If I know Martin O'Neill, he'll be tying Arne Engels to a goalpost at the training ground. He ain't going anywhere. That's at the moment. Is that likely to change? Well, we shall head north very shortly. But I'm delighted to say here in studio on the 17th floor of the news building at London Bridge, 3 has become 4 because our financial expert who stops in every now and again with Simon and myself, Stefan Borson, has stopped by tonight just when we need him. Stefan, good evening. You were listening on the way in. It probably sounds busier than it actually has been, but there's still been plenty of activity out there, hasn't there?
Yeah, I think what you've got is a combination of teams that are in need of deals because of, they look at the season and go, we've still got opportunities. Teams like Villa in particular, Crystal Palace, these teams have got big opportunities in the remaining of the season from a financial perspective. And in some ways, it's risk-free. If you're Aston Villa, they've got a lot of problems with the PSR situation and the UEFA situation, but the prize is enormous. They're clearly on course for Champions League. They've got the Europa where you would expect them to get semi-final at least, probably final. All of these things are going to generate substantial revenues for them between now and the end of the season. Similarly with Crystal Palace, who are looking presumably at the conference and thinking they can qualify for the UEFA if they can win that trophy. So there's some logic around there. And then at the bottom end, I think most people probably feel as though they're safe, aside from those that are really close to West Ham and therefore reluctant to spend.
We have to do this in a night like this. Stefan, I'm jumping out. Alex, what are you thinking?
Well, this is not necessarily transfer related, but it kind of is. I've just been sent an Instagram post from one Christian Romero. Now, of course, he went off at half-time yesterday as Tottenham came from behind 2-0 down to draw 2-2 with Manchester City. Thomas Frank told me afterwards that his captain was suffering from illness. Listen to this from Christian Romero. Great effort from all my teammates yesterday. They were incredible. I wanted to be available to help them, even though I wasn't feeling well, especially since we only had 11 players available. Listen to this line. Only had 11 players available. Unbelievable, but true and disgraceful, says Christian Romero.
Unbelievable, true, but disgraceful. 11 players available, Danny.
Well, what's he talking? I mean,
we'll keep showing up and taking responsibility to turn this around, working hard and staying together. All that's left is to thank all of you fans for being there and always supporting us. That's a pop at the hierarchy, isn't it?
It sounds like, I mean, he didn't only have 11, did he? Because some of the subs come on and did well. Sarr come on and did well. Tell come on and did well. So he didn't just have 11. What are you going on about?
Yeah, and it's not the first time that Romero's done something like this.
Because that sounds disrespectful to the lads who were sat on the bench.
Yeah.
The reality is, what was the word he used regarding disgraceful?
Disgraceful, the fact they only had 11 players and his words available.
That sounds like a dig at the medical team.
Oh, well, of late...
Either way, it suggests all is not a happy camp at Tottenham.
Oh, exactly, Alex. I mean, of late, Romero has put the C in cryptic, and he's done it again. We'll see where that takes us. Stefan, since Alex has taken us on to Tottenham Hotspur, many Tottenham fans phoning in tonight. So, even though it's going to be a bit Tottenham Hotspur-centric, we'll stay with it. Spurs' £35 million purchase of Conor Gallagher took their transfer spending to $1 billion since the sacking of Mauricio Pochettino in November 2019, Stefan. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, Mr. Borson. The deal for Gallagher, who's joined up from Atletico, adds to a transfer outlay that is more than North London rivals Arsenal have spent under Mikel Arteta in that time.
Can I just say, though, people use these figures.
Yeah.
They never say net.
No.
It's so relevant. If you've spent $1 billion compared to 100 million net, it doesn't matter. Okay, you might have spent the $1 billion poorly or well. Surely that's relevant.
And I know Arne Slot gets frustrated at Liverpool that their summer spending is used as a bit of a stick to beat him with, not accounting for the fact they didn't spend for the previous couple of windows and they were good sellers in the summer.
So what we'll do is this. There are quite a number of Spurs fans calling in. Because you're here, Stefan, we'll get them to join us while you're with us. But is this a bold new era?
Well, it's not yet. I mean, clearly that they had the opportunity in this window to show that there was a new regime in town. Obviously, the ownership hasn't changed, but I do expect them to spend more going forward. But clearly, almost nothing has happened in this window, and I think it is surprising. And I don't think disgraceful is the medical staff. I have to say, I think
it's the board.
I think it's the board. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you would use the word disgraceful about the medical staff. Somehow
disgraceful towards the board though, because
he's just saying the squad's too thin. You know, the squad is big, but they've got lots and lots of injuries. We know what the side looked like yesterday, despite the results at the end of the day, and they've chosen not to spend big in this window. And I think it is surprising when you look at a couple of things. First of all, this season is going to really upset Spurs fans when they see the results. It's going to be a year. We're going to have to wait until the end of the season, but they are going to make an enormous profit this season because they've got a relatively low wage bill. They're going to go deep in the Champions League. We know that already. Their round of 16 game is a very winnable game. They could very easily get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Just winning the round of 16 is £11.5 million. So they're gonna have an incredible financial season this season, and it's gonna sit alongside disappointment in terms of the league position, and it's gonna send the fans into probably quite a lot of emotional response to it, and they're going to be thinking disgraceful. So it is a surprise. I think spending £1 billion is fine. It is a lot of money. They've not spent it particularly well, but I think the net position is also important. And they have sold. They've sold even in this window. Their net position in this window is obviously zero.
What about Newcastle, Stefan, as well? Because there's a lot of Newcastle fans who are getting in touch saying it's absolutely appalling that we've not signed a single player in this window.
Yeah, I think it's a major surprise. It's a completely different topic. I can see Jim wants to keep on Spurs, but...
Well, we'll stay on Spurs for the moment because Jim's a Spurs fan who's been waiting patiently. You've got a ton of money, but you're just not spending it, Jim. That seems to be the message tonight, mate.
It does, Jim. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Letting me on?
Now, listen, Danny's with me and so too is Alex, but crucially, Stefan is here. On all things finance, Stefan cannot be matched. So if you've got a financial related point, make it to Stefan and do it now. What do you want to say?
Okay, financial, I would say, as you just pointed out, we spend a lot of money. It's the recruitment, it's how we've spent that money. It's where's the replacement for not so many years ago we had Son, Kane and Bale up front. Now I'm not knocking the young lads like Odegaard and Tell. They are not the finished products. We know that all across the park we've got Bergvall, got Gray. Again, we've done it this window. We've signed an 18-year-old on deadline day, having loaned out Dane Scarlett, who's 21.
Yeah.
If money isn't the motive, try and convince me that this Arsenal bloke isn't trying to take us to the Championship.
I don't think so. Do you want to break it down for the likes of Jim as to where Tottenham actually are at the moment, Stefan? You're saying the news is good. Longer term, the news is going to be very good financially.
Well,
PSR, plenty of headroom there.
Yeah. Look, it's a continuation of the Daniel Levy era in terms of the underlying financials. They're very strong. We obviously know that they've got a stadium that generates now about 150 million quid, and they're going to do, I would think this season they'll do 600 million pounds, which is a lot against the cost base. Their wage bill is one of the lowest. It's around about 225 million quid.
What percentage is that? We've done this before.
Well,
the lowest, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, last season in the Money League it was 42%, which but it's just but it's too low compared to the peer group. If you look at what City are running at, what Liverpool are running at run rate, almost not far off double.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. So to try and compete, and also then to go into the Champions League and to go deep in the Champions League with the number of games that brings, clearly they've got some issues with the size of the wage bill, and the squad size is probably different given they've got so many injuries.
Right.
But I would expect them. I think this window has actually just been about not being able to get their targets. It being quite a slow window generally, if you look at it.
Yeah.
They did want Semenyo, of course. He chose to go to City. And so I think I do expect if you're going to get rid of Daniel Levy and you're going to have problems with the way that he spends money,
right?
That can only be that he's too conservative.
But I think Spurs fans would counter that. And we reported quite early that of all the clubs that were in for Anton Semenyo, the one club he wasn't interested in joining was Tottenham. Now, they were willing to spend £60 million on Antoine Semenyo. They knew right at the start of the window that wasn't going to happen. Why didn't they reinvest that elsewhere?
Well, is that the kind of thing, Darren, Tottenham fan, that frustrates you? The likes of Semenyo had a look at Tottenham, thought, nah, I'm going to go to City. Is that the kind of thing that frustrates you, Darren?
Well, if you give me 2 minutes, I can exactly
I can give you one.
Explain to you.
I can give you one.
Give me 1 minute. So the Tottenham's problem is 12 years in the making, because Tottenham got players like Luka Modric, Dele Alli. We had Harry Kane. We've had players on the cheap for years. We've never paid the wages. It's very, very simple in football now. Tottenham can spend 50 million quid on a player. So can Burnley, so can Bournemouth, yeah? If you don't pay the wages, you don't pay the top players. Jim, you and I know Spurs could have had David Raya from Brentford. They wouldn't pay the wages. They missed out on Jack Grealish. They wouldn't pay the wages. We are no longer a football club. We are a business with a football club attached to it. It's toxic at the moment at Tottenham between the fans, the players and the board. And we got lucky with Pochettino. We got to the Champions League. That was our time to step up and spend. I can't use the word. We wasted the Gareth Bale money. Liverpool went out, decided they need a centre-half and a goalkeeper.
Right.
They bought Alisson. They bought Van Dijk. And we buy average players because there is no one at the football club who knows football. And the worst person Spurs got rid of, Jim, is a friend of yours and mine, Paul Barber.
Oh, Paul Barber. Excellent. Darren, Paul Barber is a man who's known well to Stefan. Briefly, 30 seconds, Stefan, before we hit the bulletin at 8, can you address the points that Darren made? I mean, every football club's a business, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's slightly overplayed. I mean, they're not one of the lowest payers in Europe. They've been very prudently run. So they've been run, I think, too much for prudence, profit, and the development of the infrastructure. They need to now release a bit of that tightness and go and spend more. But let's get things into perspective. They're still spending, 250 million quid on a pan-European basis. That's still a lot of money on the wage bill. They're not, and in the Premier League, it's also in the same sort of zone as Newcastle and Aston Villa. So let's not overdo it. They're not, we're not talking about trying to play the Champions League with Crystal Palace style wages. This is still a big operation. It's just that if they want to get to the top, they're going to have to spend more money.
Okay, Stefan, stay with us. A whole lot more to get into in the next hour. Danny is with me, so too is Alex, on transfer deadline day, and we're picking over the bones as to who went where and why, and in some cases, more significantly, who didn't end up going where and why. Just gone 8 this Monday evening.
Talking about you being champions, some of it mischievously, from some people saying this would be the worst ever Arsenal team. You just go and win it. Doesn't matter what you look like.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all. Just go and win it, Jim. And obviously that pressure, people try to create pressure, and when you don't get what you want, they look for all kind of weaknesses. And Arsenal just keep on. They're better than everybody else right now. That's all they need to be.
So it's just nonsense from Paul Scholes. If Arsenal win the title, if they win the league, this could be the worst team to win the league.
Look, I love Paul, but this is like one of his comments is like one of his tackles, isn't it? It's waist high, and it's just Paul is still got it in his head. This Arsenal thing is starting to emerge. Maybe Man United are starting to emerge as well at the same time. Let's get it on, in the future. Man United maybe not ready to win it this year, but they shut Arsenal up the week before. So, I think Arsenal just need to concentrate, play their games, not listen to the noise that's on the outside, Jim. Arsene Wenger said this to us many years ago. There's no meaning or everyone telling us that we're favourites. Don't listen to it. Let's just go and do it. Go and do it. And that's what Arsenal did at the weekend. I think it was quite an emphatic.
Well, there's been plenty of activity, as expected, this transfer deadline day, and we've got all the movers and shakers at talksport.com. Football agent Phil Smith says there's been one unusual feature of this window that we've not seen much of before.
Here you've seen loans that were potentially going to be for the whole season being cut short, with players being recalled and sold, but you've got players coming in 6 months into the season or halfway through that may not have ordinarily have featured till the end of the season.
Meanwhile, could Arsenal be without Bukayo Saka for the League Cup semi-final with Chelsea tomorrow? He pulled up with an injury before the win over Leeds at the weekend. Here's Mikel Arteta.
Today he was better, but we have to wait and see how he responds and then make the decision. It doesn't look like something too serious. Whether he's going to be available for tomorrow or the weekend, we will see. Well,
Arsenal are 3-2 up, and you can hear that second leg live on talkSPORT tomorrow. Remember, we also have Premier League action live tonight as well. Sunderland against Burnley is exclusively on talkSPORT 2. Valerian Ismail is out at Blackburn. That's officially by mutual consent, but talkSPORT understands it's actually a sacking. It's likely Slaven Bilic will replace him with Rovers in the Championship relegation zone. On to rugby now, and Maro Itoje, still grieving the death of his mother, has been named on the subs bench for England's first Six Nations match against Wales on Saturday. The England captain was in Nigeria for her funeral last week. Jamie George will skipper the side in his absence. Wing Henry Arundel makes his first England start since the World Cup in 2023, and Northampton pair Fraser Dingwall and Tommy Freeman will start in the centres. And England's former white ball captain Joss Butler is backing the current skipper Harry Brook to keep the job.
Brooky's got some good guys around him. I think he's got a great relationship with Brendan McCullum. They're a really tight-knit pair as head coach and captain, which Brookie can learn a lot from Baz, who is a brilliant leader for New Zealand.
Plenty more, as always, on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel.
It is indeed. Good evening, everybody. It's Jim White, it's Alex Crook, it's Danny Murphy, and it's football finance expert, and nobody better than him. Stefan Borson is live in studio with us on this Monday night. It's transfer deadline day, and of course, the deadline has come and gone. It was 7 o'clock. We are now an hour past it, and we're picking over the bones as to who has gone where. In a moment, we shall hear from a new Crystal Palace signing, £48 million signing of Morgan Strand Larsen. He has joined up there. Jean-Philippe Mateta. Where is Jean-Philippe Mateta? We thought he was going to head firstly to AC Milan. Didn't happen. Maybe Juventus. Didn't happen. Now he's heading back to London, where he stays at Crystal Palace. Danny Murphy is on my right. Stefan Borson is on my left here in the studio in the 17th floor of the news building. And on my immediate left is Alex Crook. Alex, what have you got for us?
Well, I think Jean-Philippe Mateta will have his tail between his legs wherever he is tonight, because he made it pretty clear over the weekend with that social media post that he wanted to leave Crystal Palace. He wanted to join AC Milan. That hasn't happened because of an issue flagged up in the medical regarding his knee. Then there was talk that Juventus could come in and yet rescue Mateta, but he stays as a Crystal Palace player. As you mentioned, by far the biggest deal of the day, that £48 million club record transfer of Jurgen Strand Larsen from Wolves to Crystal Palace. Palace also, as we speak, looking to tie up a £20 million deal for the Everton wide man Dwight McNeil. Wolves have deal sheets in for both Angel Gomez and Adam Armstrong, the striker from Southampton, a deal sheet in as well for Everton to sign Tyreek George on loan initially from Chelsea. Nottingham Forest have brought in a left-back from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And over in Scotland, Celtic rejecting a massive £25 million offer from Forest for their midfielder, Arne Engels. We know that will be music to the ears of our beloved colleague Martin O'Neill.
It will indeed be. Junior Adamu from Freiburg has joined Celtic on loan, a forward 24 years of age. But as Alex rightly says, Celtic standing firm at the moment. Martin O'Neill saying no to 1, 2 and 3 bids from Nottingham Forest for Arne Engels, their Belgian midfielder. He's staying for the moment. 25 million was the third bid, but will Forest be back with more? Because remember, it's an 11 o'clock deadline in Scotland. But here, as we mentioned, for 48 million quid, he's gone from Wolves to Crystal Palace. He is Jørgen Strand Larsen, and this is him speaking in the last few moments.
People will see it when I come onto the pitch. It's a change in me. I like to play with fire and with passion and bring the fans with me. So that's what I'm going to try and do and make sure that people believe and be positive around the stadium. I feel like that's always what I've done since I was a little kid. Enjoy playing football, and that's what I'm going to do. But definitely help from the fans will make me a better player as well.
What a change in the life, Danny, of Jørgen Strand Larsen. At one stage, he was heading to the Championship with Wolves. Sorry, Wolves fan, but that's where you're going. Now, he's a Premier League player with Crystal Palace. He's going to be playing in Europe. And all of a sudden, his stock has risen. And he's probably, as a result of the transfer tonight, 48 million quid transfer. He is a wealthy, wealthy boy.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of negativity around this signing because people don't think back. You know, there's other clubs. Newcastle tried to get him, by the way, spend big money on him.
They offered 65 million.
Well, they've got their own scouting department as well, and they're not all idiots. Newcastle do good deals generally. He had a spell at Wolves last year in a struggling team where he did very, very well. Got 14 goals. He's a handful, and he might surprise a few. And okay, it is a lot of money when you're looking at a striker who's got 1 goal. Has he got 1 goal this season? Maybe. But he has had a long injury. He missed a few months at the beginning of the season. I think he might surprise a few.
Okay, Danny, back with Alex and Stefan in a second. Premier League match on the go tonight. It was an 8 o'clock kickoff, and we have a goal. Sunderland, Burnley. Graham Courtney.
Yeah, and Sunderland are in the lead. Sunderland 1, Burnley 0. Habib Diarra, he's back from the African Cup of Nations, and he's back on the score sheet for Sunderland as well. He very nearly made a complete hash of the whole thing. In fact, Brian Brobby now has got a real chance for Sunderland. He's in the 18-yard area. He's going to try and turn his marker, but he just can't actually get through. He can't get it onto his favoured foot. But Habib Diarra with that goal. It came after 9 minutes. There's commentary of this game over on talkSPORT 2. It's Sunderland 1, Burnley 0.
Okay, Graham, thank you very much indeed. Sunderland 1, Burnley 0. I mentioned that financial expert Stefan Borsten is in studio. We have Villa fans on to us tonight. Alex mentioned Newcastle United a short time ago. We now have Newcastle United fans on to us tonight as well. Where do we start, Stefan? How long before Newcastle and Aston Villa will be able to shed the shackles of PSR? Or is it here to stay for them? Because at the moment, it's a PSR headache for Villa, and it's a similar one for Newcastle United, who do not feature in the deadline day headline news.
Or is it a similar?
Well, I think that's right. I think Danny's right. Is it? I'm not sure it is for Newcastle right now. I mean, I know that's the message that they've been giving, but that the truth is that following the sale of Isak, they've actually got a decent amount of PSR capacity. They do have issues with the UEFA regulations, and they will have some restrictions when it comes when the squad cost ratios come in next season in the Premier League. But I think the two situations at the moment are quite different. And you've got a situation with Newcastle where there's been plenty of opportunities for them to bring in sponsorship and other, particularly Saudi-related commercial partners. And for whatever reason, they've chosen not to. So there's no training ground sponsor. They haven't changed the name of the stadium. There's lots of these things that they could do incrementally. And they've been really quite conservative. Certainly in this window. They're going into second half of the season. They've got the semi-final, of course, of the Carabao. They are still in the FA Cup. They've got still a very good chance in the Champions League in the playoff. And yet they've decided to spend zero. Then on top of that, you've got a situation where, although they're in 11th place, we all know what the league table looks like right now in terms of how closely bunched the teams are.
Sure.
So they've got a real shout of Europe, Champions League, and at worst, the Europa. So I think it's really surprising that they're using a PSR excuse for not investing at least something to strengthen the squad.
It's
in January.
bizarre, as Stefan says. They've got two very ambitious managers.
Well, is it bizarre, or have they lost their desire to achieve what they said they were going to do, which was win everything?
Are they as driven without Amanda Staveley? Because it was her, wasn't it, who told you after I think they lost the League Cup final to Manchester United, their ambition was to win the Champions League. The way they've conducted themselves in the transfer market, even selling Alexander Isak, doesn't suggest a club that are trying to win the Champions League. And I think Eddie Howe actually has been quite measured in continuing to say it's all about PSR. I tend to agree with Stefan. I think there's been a definite changing tact. I was told in the summer that maybe the Saudis weren't quite as committed to Newcastle as they were previously. We've got the chief executive, haven't we, on with us when we're up in Newcastle on Wednesday, and I think we need to put some tough questions to him.
Well, that's right, Stefan. We'll be up there. She'll be coming from Newcastle on Wednesday, incidentally. It's a good time to mention it. Stefan.
And he's a very smart appointment, and he's a very experienced commercial guy. Been at Real Madrid, American, or I think he's Canadian, but he's been in American sport. So he certainly his CV suggests that they're absolutely driven towards it. I just think that if you look at what Saudi do in some of the sporting investments that they're making, be that Liv or be that the boxing, they really go for it. And you can contrast that with the Newcastle approach. And don't get me wrong, to qualify for the Champions League twice in 4 years is an amazing achievement.
That's thanks to Eddie Howe, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I really think that it's to do with outperforming the wage bill, outperforming the spend, which has been significant, but not, again, it's the wage bill is in the sort of Spurs range and not in the City and Liverpool range.
So just to be clear, Stefan, you're telling us tonight that you are surprised, knowing the figures and the numbers that you know, that Newcastle haven't done some spectacular business.
I think,
and they had the capacity to do it because of Isak, and that Villa haven't done.
Well, I think Villa's more complicated. Villa have already failed UEFA tests, both on the football learning side and also on the squad cost ratios. They failed that last year. They're in a settlement period. So they have some risk and some jeopardy if they overspend. Now, the reality is, if they breach by a small amount, they're only going to get a €5 million additional fine from UEFA.
Yeah.
But it's going to make the future years a little bit more difficult. If they breach by a mile, they're going to get banned from Europe. So they're not going to risk that. But then Villa will look at it and go, well, look, we're in third place and we can win the Europa. We really need to do at least some investment because it's just a massive burden on the squad, the number of games that they've got.
Yeah.
So they've been measured, but a little bit more aggressive. I just think Newcastle had an opportunity to bring in at least one player, given that they've got 4 trophies that are still meaningful this season. They can still get Champions League through the league, and they can still win a trophy.
Okay. When we come back the other side of this break, any further news, up to the minute news, we'll get Alex to bring you at the other side of the break. But specifically on Saudi tonight, some bizarre news to say the least of it coming out of Saudi Arabia, and in particular Cristiano Ronaldo at Al Nassr. So disillusioned is he about the lack of activity in the transfer window for Al Nassr that Cristiano Ronaldo, who, remember, on £500,000 a day, we understand is considering going on strike. Yeah, true. We're back after this. there have been complaints around Solanke's first goal with a striker made contact with Gahey when scoring, but VAR cleared the goal after a lengthy check. So is it one thing for fans to be conspiracy theorists when it spreads to managers and players? Do we have a problem? Have a listen to Rodri post-match.
It's one game and another game and another game, and it's not possible. And honestly, I never speak about referees. I respect their job massively, but they have to pay attention to these things. He kicked the leg, it's so clear. It's so clear. He anticipated the leg of Mark, and it's a clear foul. So, but it's not today. It's just 2-3 games in a row, and I don't know why. Honestly, I know we won too much, and the people they don't want us to win. But the referee has to be neutral. And for me, honestly, it's not fair. It's not fair because we work so hard in these situations now to make these decisions that you have to move on, of course, but you need to come back. But at the end, when everything is finished, you are frustrated because it's so clear, the foul.
Now,
He should be fine for that. He should be fine for that. He should be pulled up by the FA because he's called the referee lacking neutrality. So he's questioning the referee's impartiality in the same way that his manager.
It is Monday night, but no ordinary Monday night. It's transfer deadline day, the evening which follows it. And it's Jim White, it's Alex Crook, it's Danny Murphy, and it's football finance expert Stefan Borson. And we are live on talkSPORT. We're going to dip out of matters transfer deadline day in England. Certainly the UK as well. Remember, in Scotland, it's an 11 o'clock deadline. But let's head back out and get the very latest as regards Saudi Arabia, because my colleague Ben Jacobs can bring us right up to date with what is the most bizarre of bizarre stories to come out of Saudi Arabia, of course, involving two of the massive earners out there, Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema, who both ply their trade, of course, in the Saudi Pro League. Ben, good evening to you. By God, you've had a long day, my friend. It's not over yet. Now, on matters Saudi, it's our understanding here that so disillusioned is Cristiano regards the inactivity, as he perceives it, of his club Al Nassr in this transfer window, that he's considering downing tools. Any truth in this?
Yeah, I think Cristiano Ronaldo is upset with the PIF strategy in particular and made a statement by not making himself available for Al Nassr's 1-0 win over Al Riyadh earlier. Now, some in Saudi have alleged that Ronaldo didn't want Karim Benzema, former teammate, to go to Al Hilal and instead felt that it would be better for Saudi football for him to stay at Al Ittihad or even maybe join Al Nassr. Others say that this is a problem about central funding and how it is allocated specifically. So Ronaldo's point, and Al Nassr fans have been protesting as well, is why were Al Hilal given so much money to spend before the Club World Cup when Al Nassr's portion of the pie was a little bit smaller. But what's interesting is whether it's Benzema specific or whether there is a broader disagreement over strategy and ultimately funding, Ronaldo hasn't been backed. He's expected to be fined. He's likely to be punished for not making himself available for selection. And at the same time, if this is Benzema specific, another massive bit of breaking news has happened this evening, as we revealed exclusively on talkSPORT, and that is Karim Benzema has made the move to Al Hilal from Al Ittihad on a new 1.5-year contract, which is a major bit of news and a huge transfer that will be highly contentious and not necessarily even one that he will become popular with amongst the Al Hilal fan base, because generally speaking, we saw it with a near N'Golo Kante move within the PIF family. When a player changes clubs within Saudi Arabia with the same owner, you get a bit of revolt as well. So this is a fascinating story, and the Ronaldo aspect of it is likely to rumble on.
Maybe Ronaldo could give some of his earnings to the club to then help them get more players. I mean, I've never heard something so ridiculous in all my life.
Well,
self-indulgent nonsense.
It is absolutely bizarre, Ben, when you consider the earning capacity of these two, of Cristiano and of Benzema, for either of them to be disillusioned, upset about the way their clubs are run, to put it mildly, is almost unthinkable.
Yeah, I mean, Karim Benzema, the situation is at Al Ittihad, there's a mass exodus, and N'Golo Kante is likely to join Fenerbahce. And this has taken the manager, Sergio Conceição, by surprise. Fabinho is on his way out. And I think this is a byproduct of the fact that a lot of these players came when the Saudi Pro League wave of recruitment first started in 2023. So they're all at the end of their contract. They're all a bit older. And Saudi want to put their money on younger players and elsewhere. And the star names that feel that they've made the league, maybe Ronaldo included, are not happy that the same terms are not on offer. So Benzema fell out with Al Ittihad because they said you can stay for an extra year, free transfer as it stood in the summer, but to do that, you can only have money from your image rights. So they were actually trying to take the money away that you reference. Whereas with Cristiano Ronaldo, he's had plenty of money and a renewal, but he's not happy with the central funding. And the irony of Saudi Arabia and these big clubs is they're nothing without the central money, really, with the one exception of Al Qadsiya, because their owner is Aramco. And as a consequence, even though they may appear big and have huge wages, if the central funding is pulled or reallocated to try and level the playing field in Saudi Arabia, you get a lot of complaints. So Benzema's got the terms he wants, but from a different PIF club, which is a bit bizarre because ultimately, if it's all PIF, why couldn't Al Ittihad have just renewed him? But it's tense, it's political, and this will make major waves. And you could say it's the first real test of whether this Saudi project has long-term success and foundations in place.
I think this raises wider questions, actually, Ben. We've been talking about Newcastle and whether the Saudi owners there are perhaps as committed as they were at the start of the project. Could it be the same question of the Saudi Pro League now? Have the Saudis effectively got what they want when they got involved in football? They've got their World Cup. Has that taken a little bit of the enthusiasm for their domestic league away?
I think they've got the World Cup and they've realised in a World Cup year you can't keep signing and building. So it's one thing wanting a Vinicius Junior, but is that kind of peak player going to join? Bruno Fernandes turned down Saudi Arabia over the summer, albeit some of that was for family reasons as well. So yeah, the World Cup creates another priority, but also a layer of complication and crossover of personnel. Some of the stadiums are World Cup stadiums. They should benefit the league, but if they're too big, they might not be full. Players might not want to play in empty stadiums. You don't become a top 5 league in the world or ultimately compete with the Premier League if your stadiums are empty. So there's a lot of work to be done in all of this. And then, of course, if you're the Saudi Pro League, you also have to think about privatization now. And we're seeing a divestment of power away from government and PIF, who had all of the money, and maybe a more uniform decision-making process towards private owners. So the other thing at play in all of this is these are PIF-controlled clubs, particularly, obviously, Ronaldo's, Al Nassr and Al Hilal. And yet, over the next few years, PIF are going to leave. So this current ownership structure was only ever meant to be medium term. And I think some of the reluctance of some of the PIF personnel, Al Ittihad, for example, to spend is because they know that they won't be the owners of that football club within the next 1 to 3 years.
Ben, just finally, I mean, I know Cristiano Ronaldo all his career has insisted that his total and absolute professionalism is matched by those around him, not least the club he's playing for. Just remind us, what's he earning out there at the moment?
Well, as you say, it's basically $1 million a week, but it's more than that with the bonuses. That's just the base wage. Then you're getting another $250,000 for a goal. You're getting $175,000 for a win, and you're getting about $100,000 for an assist. And if you take all of the image rights and the marketing, and some allege he's got equity in the football club, although specifically does he have shares has been denied, but I'm told legally it's complicated. So add it all up, and the short answer is it's about 200 million. But then if you remove Cristiano Ronaldo from the equation at Al Nassr, it's not like they haven't spent and added other players. Let's not forget in the last window, Joao Felix, for example, joined from Chelsea. So I think this is the challenge in Saudi Arabia, that everyone fills up their quota of foreign players, and you do that in a wave of recruitment. And then the next window, they want to refresh and spend and spend and spend again, but the money goes to another club, and then that club becomes annoyed. And obviously, if you have a big voice like Cristiano Ronaldo, it can get tense and it can get political. So like I say, this is a real test now of the Saudi model heading into a massive window for them after the 2026 World Cup, because it's this coming summer where really when players after the World Cup maybe become more open to Saudi Arabia. If they're going to kick on, they have to have a big 2026, which they haven't had so far in January.
Ben, let me tell you, if Cristiano is indeed heading to the airport and heading home, please let the powers that be there know that Danny Murphy beside me is prepared to come out of retirement and head out there.
You're damn right he
and
is.
I'm going to
They
be
can't
Danny's
afford him.
agent in this upcoming deal.
Got to get rid of this derby, but yeah.
Ben Jacobs, thank you so much for that. Ben has been on duty, Stefan, I have to tell you, since early morning this morning on talkSPORT. What on earth? You're a financial man. You're a numbers man. What do you make of that? The news that's coming out of there tonight?
Well, it's got a feel of China, I think, in terms of their long-term commitment to the sport. And look, I think it is, in some ways, as Alex suggested, similar to the situation in Newcastle. It seems to me when they are all in on a sport, they are all in. And when they are drifting in their interest, you see it. And I think we're seeing it over in Saudi. You know,
Liv's another one.
Yeah,
Liv is just starting to
spend the
One of
money.
the big American golfers quit. Liv, they want to go back.
Kepka's back.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take a break for a couple of minutes. I'll get a glass of water and Cristiano will earn another 50 odd grand. And we'll be back after this.
Morning, Gabby.
Good morning, lads. How are we?
Yeah, we're doing well, mate. Gabby. Don't you go throwing the towel in on me now. Come on.
Hey, Gabby, look, I've got a message for you from Courtney, who says, when Gabby comes on, make sure you tell him Villa are bottle jobs. He would be calling other teams bottle jobs for losing at home in a so-called title race. Villa will be looking to get top 5 as United, Liverpool and Chelsea will catch them. Come on, Gabby, put Courtney in her place. I assume it's a her, might be a his. I apologise if I've got the sex wrong.
No, listen, yesterday was disappointing. Everton at home, disappointing to lose those 2 games. You'd think Aston Villa would win those games, but who thought Aston Villa would go to Newcastle last weekend and win? Nobody. So it's sort of like we don't really know what's going to happen in the last games of the season. But yesterday I thought they'd done everything they could. I was at the game, pressurised Brentford's back 5 when Collins come on. Sancho had a better game when he went over to the left-hand side. Tammy Abraham was sharp. But it's just one of...
Monday night. It is Jim White. It is Alex Crook, Danny Murphy, and Stefan Borson. We're all live on talkSPORT. We're all live on YouTube, of course. We're live on your telly, your smart TV. For all the information on how to watch the show, just head to talksport.com/watch. You can watch the show as well as listen to it. There's a lot going on, of course, not just in the world of transfers. There's a live Premier League match, live on talkSPORT too. It's Sunderland against Burnley, and Graham Courtney is there.
Yep, and it is Sunderland 2, Burnley 0, and it is 2 for Diarra as well. I tell you what, he's come back from the African Cup of Nations and he looks fully refreshed. He's a big unit as well, so you wouldn't want to tackle him. But I'm afraid that Burnley, well, they're their own worst enemy. They are playing, well, just about everybody behind the ball. And if I have a look at their XG from open play, 0. XG from set play, 0. XG overall, 0. So in other words, at the moment, no surprise that actually next to their scoreline is 0. But Sunderland at the moment, you just get the impression they're probably going to add to this. They're looking really, really confident as well. There's commentary on talkSPORT 2. We've got, 14 minutes to go in this first half at the Stadium of Light. It's Sunderland 2, Burnley 0.
Graham, thanks very much indeed. You get the impression that Graham is sending us, Danny, that Sunderland, that Burnley, I beg your pardon, aren't going to score in that match tonight.
They are dreadful, aren't they, Burnley? They're just as bad this time as they were under Vincent Kompany. What a waste of a promotion place.
Well, I find it strange how I understand after their brilliant season in the Championship and their defensive qualities why he went with that philosophy. If you don't concede, you stay in games. And they did, actually, for the first few months.
Yeah.
But then when you know, hold on, you might as well have a go.
Yeah.
You might as well.
Well, absolutely.
You might as well lose a few 4-2, maybe win the odd one.
I saw them down at Brighton. It's the only game Brighton have won in the last few months, actually. And they never laid a glove on Brighton. You thought, well, as soon as Brighton score, you're going to lose.
Yeah. Interestingly, on Brighton, Spurs tonight have signed James Wilson, a youngster from Hearts on loan. There was talk that Arsenal were in there as well. But of course, when you think of Hearts, you think of Tony Bloom, who's put in a £10 million investment into the football club. And Stefan, you made a very good point off air to me. Why not Brighton for James Wilson? And yet he's gone to Tottenham Hotspur tonight.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, they've got the relationship, and clearly it's working in terms of Hearts' performance since the takeover. So,
yeah,
in those that magical data that they pay for, you see it in the small print in the accounts. Everybody pays Tony Bloom's company a little bit for the rights to that data. It obviously works. It is surprising then when you've got a player that you can have a very good look at, and you've got that relationship that he's not moving to Brighton, but looks like a good player given who was interested.
It's a bit of an odd move, though, isn't it? Because from my understanding, he's going to go and play for Spurs under-21s on loan for the rest of the season.
Was he in Hearts first?
Then maybe they might buy him. He's scored goals for Hearts this season.
Yeah. Oh, it's a real prospect.
Well, there's no obligation on it.
No, it's an option.
Right.
Yeah. With the Premier League in mind, and the weekend we've just seen, as we all know, Arsenal, of course, won well at Leeds United. And there's a 6-point gap between Arsenal in first and Manchester City in second. Manchester City, of course, held to a 2-2 draw yesterday at Tottenham Hotspur. Now, when it comes to spending, and of course this being transfer deadline day, for the 2nd January in a row, they are the biggest spenders, Manchester City, after bringing in Semenyo and Gehi. I'm going to get the numbers expert, Stefan, to weigh up a few things for us, but our own numbers expert here at talkSPORT, Gabby Agbonlahor, had this to say on City and Pep.
He spent so much money. If you look at the last 3 transfer windows, I think he spent over 450 million. I mean, this window already spent 90 million. Semenyo, Gehi. Can we start calling him? I might be disrespectful. Is he a checkbook manager? Because the amount of players he's been able to buy.
Sorry, did you just call one of the greatest managers of the last 20 years a checkbook manager?
At the moment, he is, yeah, because he's had the great chance to rebuild this Manchester City side. And look at what they're putting on a plate.
This is not the first time he's rebuilt it, though. He's turned it over before. When David Silva left, he had to change the team.
But look at what he's spending,
left, he had to change
but look what he's spending on this squad of players. And they look a million miles off it.
Danny, checkbook manager, Pep Guardiola, according to Gabby.
Well, if you actually break it down over a period of years since he's been at City and his success, initially he did spend quite a lot, and then he spent a good period of time where they didn't spend very much at all because the squad was so good and so settled. He's had the benefit of being able to spend, more than most in some at times he's needed, but he's also reinvented the team and the tactics without spending very much for a period of years when they won the league 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
So you can't just call him a checkbook manager, but I understand where he's coming from. If any manager at a big club, he's always got when he's at Munich, at Barca, he's got the capability of signing the best players. He's far more than that.
He's far more than that. Has their business in this window, Semenyo and Gehi, tilted the title race in their favour?
No. It's helped them look
better equipped to do so. But even since Semenyo's come in and Gay, you know what, they've won 1 in 6.
Still conceding goals, aren't they?
Their second half performances are baffling.
Yeah.
Whether it's a complacency thing, a mindset issue. So many times they play well in first half of games and then second half let it go.
You see, that's such a good point that Danny's making, Stephen. So the hierarchy at City, are they thinking tonight, well, hang on, we got the players you wanted, Pep, and we paid the money to get them, but it hasn't exactly set the heather on fire.
Well, first of all, it's early days. I mean,
it is.
In terms of the spending since last summer, and it's part of a rebuild. I mean, they have dropped 11 points from winning positions at half-time. They've been leading in 16 games, and they've dropped 11 points. Obviously, you know, pretty more than Arsenal dropped 0 from winning positions at half-time. So clearly they've got a big problem in the second half of games. They've got quite a few injuries, and there's an entire rebuild of the side going on, which is why they've spent the levels that they've spent. But clearly, you know, I think they've got very little chance of winning the league this season. I think they've been largely disappointing, and I've been at a lot of the games. I was there yesterday. I don't, you know, they are not top class.
Still capable of winning Champions League, though. Because
if they stop conceding.
Well, do you know what? When you've got that many quality players, depending on the look of the draw and who you play, because if you look at...
They lost to Bodo Glimt, though.
I know. But when the big games come, the big players get better. If you look at Real Madrid, they're no great shakes at the moment. Chelsea turned Barca over. Arsenal ran all over Bayern Munich. PSG on at the moment where they were at last season. So Man City might have more chance of winning the Champions League than the Premier League.
And that's obviously the same case for Liverpool
Absolutely.
as well. I know
Well, you've got the Anfield factor, haven't you?
And they believe at Liverpool that actually maybe the squad is better suited to Champions League football, where teams are going to come at them rather than try and sit deep and frustrate.
What we shouldn't forget is they're spending this money, Stephen, and 115 rumbles on.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of discontent around that. How are they allowed to keep spending while this goes on?
Look, it's inevitable there's going to be criticism, and people are going to say, how can you keep spending money? But what City have taken a view that they have to continue business as usual. First of all, they're very confident they're going to be cleared. We know that. We've spoken about that many times. And they have to continue to invest in the club and the team. And that's what they built, you know, a big stand, hotel development. So there's huge investment. They are carrying on, and clearly the result will come when it comes, imminently, as I always say.
Imminently.
Exactly. It must be soon now. Come on. I mean, we're in February.
What did Simon say? Not this decade.
Yeah, well, it's increasingly getting closer. But City have got to carry on business as usual, and that means rebuilding the squad. That Pep may or may not be there next season. Who knows?
That was a question I was going to ask as well. And Danny, you've been in a dressing room. I don't know if you've heard this as well, but I keep hearing noises from around Manchester City that this could well be Pep Guardiola's last season. And if the players are hearing that as well, subconsciously, do they just switch off 5-10%?
I think I haven't heard that, but I think if the players feel it becomes transparent on the pitch. Yeah, players do start thinking about what's next. Is the new manager going to want me? Who's it going to be? Have I got to look elsewhere? All that, and also the other thing is, and it sounds a bit bizarre that you would get into this mentality as a player, but you don't really have to impress him as much because he's going. It's kind of like, and if he annoys you a little bit, it's a bit, oh, shut up. You know, I'm not interested.
I mean,
it's a different mindset when you know someone's leaving. That's why, I know Palace was struggling before he came out. Players probably knew before he come out and said he was leaving.
Yeah.
Glasner, I'm talking.
Yes, yeah.
And the drop-off, it just inevitable.
But Pep has been in this situation a number of times over the years. I mean, that, you know, we have, every time there's a renewal, there's been strong rumours that this will be, you know, he will be leaving. There has been that kind of feeling potentially within the dressing room that this might be the last season, and they've gone on to win the league. So, you know,
no, I'm not saying it is this.
Yeah.
I'm saying, but it does happen if you know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they do know. My bigger fear, my thing with City at the moment is why he can't seem to find a way of managing games in the second half with the amount of different quality players he's got sitting on the bench.
Well, he didn't have an answer at all to Michael Carrick, did he? Tactically, if you look at that Manchester derby.
No, same. Carried on doing the same.
Well, certainly what we do know is that Pep gets somewhat prickly whenever the prospect of him leaving comes up and is thrown at him by the media.
Oh my God. I have a contract. I said 1,000 million times. I know you are bored of me. It's 10 years here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that. I will leave one day. I promise you.
Not too soon.
I promise you. But I have contract. I'm happy. I want to fight with my team. The higher will respect me. That proved last season what happened in this club, that we didn't win one game in 2-3 months. They support me, so what can I do? I want to try and do it, but maybe one day, I don't know, but I have 1 more year contract. I like to be here, so we will see. You will see. I said 1,000 million times about that.
I don't think he said it 1,000 million times, but he said it a few times. And then Pep will be thrilled to hear tonight, Danny, if he's listening. Good evening, Pep. That reports this afternoon suggest Xabi Alonso is expected to feature on a 3-man shortlist of potential successors to Pep, amid growing belief that he could well be out of there sometime sooner than later. Enzo Maresca being on that list as well. Xabi Alonso on it. Cesc Fabregas on it as well. So it's a credible 3-man list, is it not, Danny?
Yes. Alonso, with his experience at Leverkusen and Madrid, yeah. He's a possession-based manager with that Spanish mentality of possession is everything to winning games, so that would suit Man City.
Yeah.
He's had that experience of managing big players at Madrid now, so he'll have learned from that. Yeah, makes sense, but obviously you've got the Liverpool connection. But
come on, Mr. Borson. This is your club we're talking about. You know a lot of the goings-on at Manchester City.
I think Maresca would be a strange one.
Yeah.
Stefan, do you want to...
Well, I think Maresca is unlikely, but I don't think it's clear Pep's leaving. I mean, I think his annoyance at the question over and over is because he's been pretty clear on his position that he's not leaving and he will see out the end of his contract. Now, you know, the story there from Matt Law today is pretty specific, you know, but they've put a shortlist together that's got 3 names. I mean, at least 2 of those names would not be available beyond this summer anyway, you would think.
Good point.
So,
yeah,
if that story is true, then obviously they are planning for not generally life after Pep, but actually specifically this summer. I think Company, you would think, would also be on that list, given his connections.
I think the expectation is that he does at least 1 more year at
Bayern.
Bayern.
Yeah. I mean, but then that may well lead them to discuss with Pep staying on. I don't think Pep's going to be pushed out the door.
I don't think he'll go.
Regardless of what happens this season, and they still may win some trophies. And they're clearly backing, you know, I'm sure he's involved in signing these players. It would be quite odd to be so aggressive in the transfer market if you were then going to replace him with a manager that's got a different approach. So
saying that, just got to say on that, I've seen him talk about the transfers and people above him doing whatever. It's a lot. I mean, he's obviously going to have a say. He's going to, of course he is. He's earned the right to say yes or no, but I'm not sure he's the one going.
Well, they've got a new sporting director, haven't they, in Hugo Viana, who presumably is going to want to put his own stamp on it. Pep was very close to the previous sporting director.
Yeah.
Left foot.
Stefan Borson, we want to thank you for your time. Stefan, in a sentence or two, how would you describe this window, the latter stages of it?
A bit bland, really, in terms of the signings, but
like Jim's clothes.
But understandable, I think. You know, I think you can see why every club's got their own, strategically, why those that have invested, and those that are being more cautious. And I think also, with most of the relegation places gone, I think that's made a lot of teams quite relaxed.
Having said that, it's the second biggest spend in the last 6 years, 400 million spent. So it has
quite skewed by City and Crystal Palace.
Yeah, hasn't been Borefest.
It's bizarre to have Crystal Palace there, but
if Pep was here, he'd say to you, Stefan, for the 1,000 millionth time, thank you so much for joining us. Stefan Borson with us, ladies and gentlemen, as we are approaching 9 o'clock this Monday evening. Simon, stick to football, or if you've got an opinion about a matter outside of football, then say it.
Listen, I think there's a balancing act. I mean, I think depends if you're if you're representing yourself as a football player rather than just an individual. If you're a leading manager and you want to talk about the independence of Catalonia in example terms with Pep Guardiola, and you do it at a Manchester City function, I don't think you should be doing that, because you're there representing Manchester City. The challenge is that you will always, in people's eyes, be representing Manchester City. But by the same token, Pep Guardiola is a citizen of the world. He has an opinion about something, and he can utilise his opinion. So I have a mixed emotions about it. I don't really want them wading into subject matter, because most of the time they don't know what they're bleeding talking about, and they don't really have the courage of their convictions to stand up behind their own words.
But he's not wrong, is he? I mean, we've seen and heard of some of the prices at the World Cup for tickets in the summer, and they're exorbitant, to say the least.
Again, but I would ask the question, where does the money go? Right? Because I realise who his father is, and his father was the president of Liberia, so he probably thinks he's got a soapbox to stand upon, right? So
It is Monday night. We're approaching 9 o'clock. This has been transfer deadline day, and this is Jim White, Alex Crook, and Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. £400 million spent, so it wasn't the Borefest window that many people predicted. Far from it. And Crystal Palace, for a variety of reasons, making the headlines tonight. Strand Larsen is in at 48 million. Jean-Philippe Mateta is in. Where he is anybody's guess. It looked like he was joining AC Milan, then Juventus, but now he's on his way back to London to stay with Crystal Palace. Might not play in the immediate future, but we'll see about that. Talking about not playing in the immediate future, he certainly hasn't played in the recent past, and that is Raheem Sterling, of course. And many people getting in touch tonight, Alex, asking me to ask you, what is the latest, if there is a latest, on Raheem Sterling?
Well, this never had to be sorted today because he is a free agent, as you've mentioned, so therefore he can sign for any club he wants after the transfer window closes, assuming that club has got space in their squad. There were comments from the president of Union Berlin over in Germany, by no means one of the biggest clubs in that country, saying they've been offered Raheem Sterling. I've had quite a strong pushback from sources close to Raheem Sterling on that one. He has spoken to several English clubs, as far as I know, several top European clubs as well. And at the moment, the most likely destination seems to be a move to one of those European leagues, to one of the top 3 teams, I'm told, in one of those said leagues. So certainly one to keep an eye on. I know Napoli and Antonio Conte have held talks. By Leverkusen, potentially by Munich, were very keen in the summer transfer window. So I don't think he's going to be short of options, Raheem Sterling. But it needs to work, doesn't it? Because not only did it end very badly at Chelsea, he might say for reasons beyond his control, but he went on loan at Arsenal, and that wasn't very successful either, was it?
Yeah, but he never got minutes. I mean, it's easy to criticise, but if you don't get game time, you can't come on for 10, 20 minutes here and get thrown in a cup game where there's 8 changes and start.
Yeah.
Forward players need rhythm. He's fit as a fiddle. He's experienced. He'll score goals. You just got to put your arm around him, get him in a team and get him playing. Now, okay, arguments around his attitude because he could have left Chelsea on numerous occasions and taken less money, whatever.
It wasn't just about the money, from
No,
what I understand.
I'm
it was
not-
about not wanting to uproot the family for a short-term loan.
I was just going to say the same. People don't factor in the external circumstances. Raheem Sterling is a proven quality Premier League footballer. And now he's a free agent.
Still, Danny.
Well, we haven't
He's
seen
only
him.
31, isn't
we
he?
haven't seen him for a while, but I don't think he's one of these players. Sometimes players struggle for a long period if they don't play, getting back into the sharpness and the rhythm of it, yeah? With him, he's always been so agile and fit and speedy. I don't think fitness ain't going to be his problem.
Right.
It's just going to be gaining some rhythm momentum.
Danny, let's return to this in a second, because a lot of people have their views on the Raheem Sterling situation, not least Simon, as he had with me.
Yeah, we had it out with him.
We had it out with him, not least Jamie Carragher. We'll get to that. Let's get to the North East. It's halftime. Sunderland, Burnley, Graham.
Yeah, Sunderland 2, Burnley 0. Both goals coming from Habib Diarra. First one after 9 minutes. Brian Brobby is dodged around his markers, squared to Diarra, cut inside, seemed to stumble a bit, but regained his composure and fired it in. And then just around about 20 minutes later, really a bit of a solo effort from Diarra. He's forced his way at the edge of the area of the Burnley 6-yard box. He's placed the ball in the bottom corner. Nothing that Dubravka, ex-Newcastle, of course, could do about it. Burnley haven't had a shot on target. Would help if they actually ploughed forward a little bit more. Half time here. There will be second half commentary coming up on talkSPORT 2, but here at the Stadium of Light, it is Sunderland 2, Burnley 0.
Graham, thank you very much indeed. On Raheem Sterling, why has it gone wrong, and what is next, if anything is next, for Raheem Sterling? This was Simon Jordan on him.
He got bombed at City. He's been bombed at Chelsea. He's got bombed at Arsenal. What's the common denominator? Raheem Sterling. Why would Crystal Palace want to sign a player that doesn't want to lift a leg, would rather sit there? I guarantee you wouldn't be so concerned about playing in London or living in London or working in London if someone came and offered him £500 a week.
I mean, do you think that was harsh, Danny? Jimmy Carragher in the Telegraph on Raheem. By any measure, he's one of the best English players of his generation. When discussing his career, the focus should be on the thrill of his initial impact as a prodigy before maturing to fulfil his talent under Pep at Manchester City. But is that about it? Since City?
Well, you said that's about it. He was at City a long time and won a lot of trophies. And also...
but what about the last couple of years, Danny?
Yeah, but also, let's just not forget what he did for England and was so consistent for them for a long period. Now, at Chelsea...
But Danny, you had longevity. You knew what it took to be at the top in the game for a considerable number of years. To your credit...
But I didn't start as early as him. So if you look at the years he was at the top, there was not every, 90% of players who have longevity in the Premier League have a bad spell. I had a couple of years where I didn't play as much, and okay, things gone on off the pitch, but I look back and those 2 years were a wasted 2 years, 2 seasons for me. He started so young playing Premier League football that actually the fall off at Chelsea when he was 28, he'd been at it for 10 years plus. So he had longevity and he'd had success and goals and, his numbers are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now at Chelsea, he didn't hit the ground running, but he wasn't binned by City because they bought him when he was still contributing.
Sure.
And they paid good money for him and gave him the salary relevant to his worth at the time. Sometimes, irrelevant of who you are and what you've done, a manager will come in and not fancy you.
Yeah.
And
was it the manager though? Or
I don't know, but it felt like it felt for me a little bit like Maresca was making an example of a couple and showing his strength.
Or was he being told to do that?
Maybe, but one or two got pushed. Bam, you're done. Now, what happened after that, the Arsenal one, I don't think was a great choice because really, when he looked at it, he should have realised he wasn't going to play that often.
Yeah.
He should have went somewhere where he could be the big fish, play every week, be relied on, be looked up to and be loved a bit more. And then he might be in a bit of a different place now. Now, Simon's point is right in that, if someone in Spain or Saudi or whatever offered him $500,000 a week, he'd go.
No,
because
he could have gone to Saudi. He didn't
well,
want to
we
go.
Don't know that, do we?
I do know that.
Yeah?
He didn't want to go to Saudi.
Right, okay.
So
Fair
that sort of flies in the face of Simon's
Has he
argument.
fulfilled his career?
He won 13 trophies.
I think if he finished tomorrow, he could sleep at night, yeah. Now, at 31 and being as fit as him, I would be amazed if he didn't still have ambition of doing something really positive.
I think he thinks he could still play for England.
I don't think under this manager right now, but potentially. The reality is, for him now, it's the biggest, most important decision of his career because he has to balance now the financial, which I don't think he needs any more money. But there is a balance between every player will have it, doesn't matter how much money they've got. The balance between the financial package and the football challenge. He now needs good people around him and needs to be strong enough to go, okay, there's a family element as well, fair enough.
Yeah.
But where am I going to play, enjoy my football, be loved, be respected, and I can just make an impact and play some football and get back to loving the game.
Right.
Irrelevant at the moment.
And is that likely to be here, Alex, or abroad?
No, I think abroad. And I was just going to ask Danny that question. With that in mind, would a move away from the Premier League not suit him? Away from that sort of constant...
Yeah, possibly. Possibly, but that goes against the family thing, doesn't it? He's going to have to uproot, though, if his kids are young in school.
But at least if he knows it's a 3-year contract, for example.
So maybe a big moment on the horizon for him. 20 years ago today was a very big moment, Alex, in the life of one Danny Murphy. 20 years ago today, Danny Murphy, who's in this very studio sitting yards from me, moved from Charlton to Tottenham on deadline day with less than half an hour to go before the window slammed shut.
Yeah.
My goodness me. Danny, what's it like to move on deadline day? What do you remember it?
It's pretty stressful. It all came about quite quickly because, well, that's what Tottenham do. And I turned them down to go to Charlton 18 months earlier. So I never expected them to come back in. I'd had a fallout with Curbs regarding a potential move for me to go to Newcastle when Suey was manager a couple of weeks before.
Yeah.
A few weeks before, actually. And that didn't materialise. Suey got sacked. And during that period, Curbs denied to me that he was trying to do that deal, but I'd obviously spoke to Newcastle.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so I tried to go and see him.
How could you?
And by the way, I'm fine with Curbs now.
Oh, good.
But I went to see him man to man and go, look, what's going on? Why are you trying to do this? At least tell me about it, and then let's have a chat.
Yeah.
No. Don't know what you're talking about. And I couldn't say who I'd spoken to.
Yeah.
I'd actually spoken to Terry McDermott about it when I was at a Newcastle game. And, yeah, I know. So he then, subsequently, leaves me out of the team at Charlton, and I'm training with the kids from being their best player that season.
Bomb squad.
Yeah, but ridiculously. Even the lads were like, what's going on? I was like...
I know. Someone of your standing.
This was crazy.
Yeah.
So I just thought, you know what? I'll have to just let it play out and see with my agent, get me somewhere, get me out. And then they came in last day, and it all happened really quickly. Curbs was going mental, saying he's not going because I can't replace him.
Yeah.
I was saying, well, you might. I went to the chairman, said, look, it's the only time I've ever done it, actually. I kicked up a bit of a stink. And I said, I've fallen out with him. The relationship's gone. He's treated me like a child. Like, I'm not going to play for him again. Now, I know you're not going to sack him, so he's the boss.
Yeah.
He's done wonders for this club, but I'm not going to play. And he was like, what, you won't play? I said, no, I'll do my hamstring every Friday. You can make me train with the kids 3 times a day, 7 days a week. I'll do every session, no problem. But you're going to have to pay me from now till the summer when I can go again.
Right.
And I was the best paid player because they'd rolled the red carpet out for me when I signed from Liverpool.
As they should.
Yeah. So, and I'd done nothing wrong.
Right.
So the chairman obviously went away. In the meantime, I'd had a bit of a nasty call off Curbs telling me what I was, or what he thought I was. And he said, you're not going to Tottenham. It's not happening. So I said to me, look, I don't think it's happening. I'm just going to have to wait till the summer and see what happens. And then as the day wore on, he's like, stay close. And I was in my car near like Tottenham's training ground and stuff. And
do you want a Peter or Wingy?
Yeah.
That was handy.
So, late in the day, we got the nod to do. Well, very late in the day.
In the last hour, yeah. Brilliant. You remember what you said at the time? I think Tottenham in the foreseeable future have great ambitions to win trophies and fight for the Champions League spots, be in European competition. That's the type of level of football I want to be playing in again.
Yeah, that was the truth. I did. And it was a great opportunity. And it was the season, actually. We messed up because I went there in January.
Yeah.
And we were in great position in the top 4.
Yeah.
Or top 3, I think it might have been then. And then it was the lasagna gate last day of the season at West Ham. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then we got done by West Ham and ended up in Europa League.
Danny Murphy, 20 years ago in the news, 20 years on, still in the news. Let me tell you, at 9 o'clock, because of the age I've managed to get to, I will now stand down and hand the baton to Mr. Alex Crook and the aforementioned Danny Murphy. I will return tomorrow at 10 o'clock with a man called Simon Jordan. And as we're live in talkSPORT, as we're live on your TV tomorrow morning, it's home for me now for a facial and the mud pack. It is 9 o'clock. Anthony, does it bother you how you win it? If you end up winning it, you've won it, you know?
No, good morning, lads. Great show as usual.
Thanks,
I just want to say hello to Martin, the legend. Martin, you probably don't remember me. I met you in Holiday Inn years ago. I came to get Ian Wright to sign my book for me, and I met you in the foyer. You was reading the newspaper, and you took the picture and you said, bloody hell, right, he's got more gold teeth than you. But anyway, that's a quick one. No, I think it's a disgrace how Scholes and Butt are talking, to be honest, Jim. Let's be honest, like you just touched on, the worst Premiership team was the last team Fergie won the league with. Because if you remember, Fergie left, Moyes came in, and that team after that got absolutely pelted.
Well, there's been plenty of activity, as expected, this transfer deadline day, and we've got all the movers and shakers at talksport.com. Football agent Phil Smith says there's been one unusual feature of this window that we've not seen much of before.
Here you've seen loans that were potentially going to be for the whole season being cut short, with players being recalled and sold, but you've got players coming in 6 months into the season or halfway through that may not have ordinarily have featured till the end of the season.
Meanwhile, could Arsenal be without Bukayo Saka for the League Cup semi-final with Chelsea tomorrow? He pulled up with an injury before the win over Leeds at the weekend. Here's Mikel Arteta.
Today he was better, but we have to wait and see how he responds and then make the decision. It doesn't look like something too serious. Whether he's going to be available for tomorrow or the weekend, we will see.
Well, Arsenal are 3-2 up, and you can hear that second leg live on talkSPORT tomorrow. Remember, we also have Premier League action live tonight as well. Sunderland against Burnley is exclusively on talkSPORT 2. Valerian Ismail is out at Blackburn. That's officially by mutual consent, but talkSPORT understands it's actually a sacking. It's likely Slaven Bilic will replace him with Rovers in the Championship relegation zone. On to rugby now, and Maro Itoje, still grieving the death of his mother, has been named on the subs bench for England's first Six Nations match against Wales on Saturday. The England captain was in Nigeria for her funeral last week. Jamie George will skipper the side in his absence. Wing Henry Arundel makes his first England start since the World Cup in 2023, and Northampton pair Fraser Dingwall and Tommy Freeman will start in the centres. And England's former white ball captain Joss Butler is backing the current skipper Harry Brook to keep the job.
Brooky's got some good guys around him. I think he's got a great relationship with Brendan McCullum. They're a really tight-knit pair as head coach and captain, which Brookie can learn a lot from Baz, who is a brilliant leader for New Zealand.
Plenty more, as always, on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel.
You are listening to Transfer Deadline Day right here on talkSPORT. And what a dramatic few hours it has been. Jurgen Strand Larsen completing his club record move from Wolves to Crystal Palace in a deal worth £48 million. But one man staying at Selhurst Park is Eagles striker Jean-Philippe Mateta, after AC Milan pulled the plug on his potential £26 million move to the San Siro. And some big breaking news just reaching me. Dwight McNeil's move from Everton to Crystal Palace is off. We know that Crystal Palace were given an extra couple of hours to complete that transfer after submitting a deal sheet to the Premier League. But news reaching me in the last few moments, that deal will now not go ahead. It was to be a loan initially with a £20 million obligation. Danny Murphy, your immediate reaction to that? He was going to be the winger to supply the ammunition for Jurgen Strand Larsen. How will Palace be feeling? How will Dwight McNeil be feeling, having undergone a medical and ultimately staying at Everton?
I think he'll obviously be disappointed. The fact he's gone for the medical. Once you decide to go for the medical, you're in. You know, you've had the conversations, you've agreed the finances, you've had the football chat. The medical's generally the last thing you do. So you're on board, you start getting the excitement. And he's obviously going to be disappointed because he's not getting the minutes he wants at Everton. But I like him.
7 Premier League starts he's made this season.
I know, and I understand why, because Ndiaye is terrific. Dewsbury Hall's been magnificent.
Grealish has been playing as well.
Grealish has been playing, and even in midfield where he can play, I don't think Moisey sees him there, because I know Dyche played him as a third midfielder for quite a while in a 10 role. So he was probably looking forward to a fresh challenge and playing more minutes. So he'll be devastated. We don't know the reason, I don't think yet, why. From Palace's point of view, I think it's a loss. Because he can fill so many roles, and he's got that. We know he's super fit. Get up and down the pitch all day long. You know, and he's got great delivery. And he's a bit different to what Palace have got. So for Palace, that's a blow, because he would add some much-needed competition to those wide areas. And he could play in, if they play, you know, in the midfield role as well, comfortably. So, yeah, it's a disappointing one. There must be, well, it could be financial, it could be medical, we don't know. But I don't think it'd be medical, because he's been fit for a while now.
It could simply be they ran out of time. As I say, they got the extra 2 hours, but maybe the formality's not able to be completed. That 9 o'clock deadline for those deal sheets has now passed. I'm told there's no issues with regard to Wolves and their double deadline day signing. Angel Gomez from Marseille on loan, Adam Armstrong from Southampton in a deal worth £9 million. He's going to be the Strand Larsen replacement. And my colleague Ben Jacobs, who's been working throughout the day, he's just confirmed Axel Disasi to West Ham is done. But the big news this hour, Dwight McNeil and that proposed £20 million move from Everton to Crystal Palace has fallen through. Let's get immediate reaction to that from Chris Hamblin. He's the host of the Back of the Nest podcast, big Crystal Palace fan. Chris, how big a blow not getting that deal for Dwight McNeil over the line?
Yeah, it's a bit of a blow. I mean, it wasn't something that I was expecting before the news broke earlier on that it was a potential deal. It's not one of those that had been talked about in any length. It just sort of came out of the blue. So we've got a bit of an adjustment when that happens, because you're thinking, well, we don't really play with wingers. Can he play in the 10? We're going to see him, you know, maybe play left wing back or something like that in the Glasner system. So
yeah, he could do that. You're right, but he could definitely play as an inside 10. That's for sure.
Yeah. So again, positive attempt to make the signing, but once you get used to something like that, when it falls through, it's very disappointing, because, you know, I think what's been missing from us is goals more than anything for the last sort of weeks and potentially stretching into months now. You know, Mateta went off the boil, so we haven't really been putting chances away, and we've started to struggle to create chances now, and it's put so much pressure on the back. So I think he would have been a really interesting and important signing for us, especially given, you know, you need competition for places. So disappointed, but not overly surprised when we've left it as late as we have.
How surprised are you that Jean-Philippe Mateta is still a Crystal Palace player after that angry emoji that he posted on Instagram over the weekend? And will you welcome him back with open arms? Because the reaction towards Mateta from your fans at the City Ground was far from positive yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really tough one. You know, it's not too long ago that he was an absolute hero, you know, for us. Been an incredible striker for us. But I'm personally, I find it very hard to have any positive feelings about the fact that the deal didn't go through. You know, I wish, you know, for him to come back and be motivated and want to play for Palace, but it just hasn't felt like he's had that motivation for a little while now. And I think the disappointment of that deal being off, you know, it kind of really pushes you to think, well, he's probably better off getting the operation on the knee that he's been putting off as well, because, you know, form-wise, he's not going to be playing if, you know, Strand Larsen's fit and we continue with the system that we've got. So, you know, his dreams of playing in the World Cup for France might be over with that transfer falling through, which is, I'm sure, devastating for him. But you won't find that much sympathy from Palace supporters, because his actions really felt disrespectful to the club, and not for the first time.
Talk to me about Jurgen Strand Larsen, because I know the hierarchy there are very confident that this is a player, despite the fact he's not scored too many goals for Wolves this season, can come in, can score the goals to fire you to safety. Is that a signing that's been well received despite the club record outlay?
I think people are always nervous when you see the money being spent, and we're as Palace fans, we're not used to those sums of money being spent on a regular basis. So it almost feels like a gamble. But then when you're buying a player who's proven they can score in the Premier League, that pretty much adds 20 million to the value. So, you look at the goals he scored for Wolves last season, and it was really about the players that were feeding him, wasn't it? They had Cunha, they had Semedo, Aït-Nouri, players who were able to get round and put crosses in. But he also. A lot of his goals were scored in the box, but a real mix of sort of tap-ins, headers, but some really clever runs as well, really good movement. And weirdly enough, I was trying to think, who does he remind me of in terms of a striker? And it's Mateta at his best, because he can do a bit of everything. He can run the channels, he can be an aerial presence, he can. What's really important for our system is as a striker that can occupy, two central defenders on his own and give them a hard game. And he's absolutely that. And he really knows where the goal is. So I'm hoping that the player we've seen this season for Wolves is just a reflection of how Wolves have lost a lot of their best players and have really struggled all season. And I think in our team, as long as we can get our best players back and in the side and sort of firing on all cylinders, he'll get a lot of opportunities and hopefully he'll put them away.
Chris, thanks very much for joining us on Transfer Deadline Day right here on talkSPORT. Big breaking news in the last 15 minutes. Dwight McNeil's move from Everton to Crystal Palace is off. We do understand, though, that Axel Disasi has now completed his loan switch from Chelsea to West Ham. So let's bring in Dan Lawless, host of West Ham TV. Dan, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a busy old window at West Ham. £50 million spent on two strikers in Pablo and Castellanos. You've got a new winger in Adama Traore, a new centre-back now in Axel Disasi. Are you still unhappy with the owners?
Absolutely. I'm absolutely unhappy with the owners. And I know, Alex, that you said West Ham fans expect too much the other week, but we are in the bottom three. We haven't had a clean sheet all season except against Nuno Espirito Santo, and we have now left it till the end of the window to address one of our most important areas, which is centre-back, because we are leaking goals, and we are signing a centre-back on loan last minute who hasn't played any professional football since April, who's played about 2 under-21 games, and from what I'm hearing, he wasn't very good in those. He won't be match fit. He's not going to come in and make an impact and be able to start and improve our defence right away. So, yeah, I'm not happy, and this is the thing. And I also heard you say that the owners spend. West Ham fans aren't necessarily just unhappy because of money spent. It's how we're spending it. It's how we conduct our business. And Tati and so Castellanos and Pablo, I think they've been net positives because they've allowed us play in a new way with two up top, and that's helped our attack. I don't think we'll get much in terms of output. Traore, we're not going to get goals and assists from him. He's another option off the bench. So how much have we really improved the team overall? And in defence, not at all. So, yeah, of course I'm unhappy with the owners. And we shouldn't be here in the first place. Down in the bottom three, 6 points adrift.
Yeah, but I hear you. I do hear you. It's a bigger picture, isn't it? But the form in the last 3 games, obviously a couple of wins and then great first half at Chelsea. And when it was 2-2 and Tadibo missed that chance, could have gone your way. There must be a little bit of hope that the last few games have shown some fight and shown some creativity.
Yeah, which is completely separate to the ownership. As there is hope because we are playing better. I mean, that first half against Chelsea is some of the best football I've seen us play in a long time. Yeah. And we were really on the next night was a sort of second string Chelsea team, but we played well. We're creating more chances. We're scoring more goals, which is great. But the problem is we can't expect to outscore teams every single game. And if we continue to just leak goals, what happens is we score 1 or 2 and we sit back, soak up pressure, and we do not have the defence to be able to do that. So if we're going to continue to be able to leak goals week after week after week, we're not going to stay up. We need to start improving our defence. And having Tadibo, who's been our best centre-back, missing 3 games, 2 in the Prem, 1 in the FA Cup, is a disaster. Is an absolute disaster. So it's all well and good scoring goals, but if we can't keep him out, we're in trouble.
I guess that's the thinking behind Axel Disasi. You have dropped 18 points from winning positions this season. Obviously, that's partly down to that defensive fragility you've mentioned. Is he the man to solve that? And would you expect West Ham to be a Premier League club come the end of the season, or are you resigned now to Championship football?
I don't think he's the man to solve that for the reasons like I've said. The fact that he hasn't played football in so long. Like, he's not going to be match fit. How long is it going to take him to get up to speed? And then is he going to be good enough to supplant someone like Mavropanos and play against Todibo? Like, so he's got to be, I think Kilman's had a really tough time, so he'll probably won't take much for him to be better than Kilman, but he's got to be better than Mavropanos to supplant him out of the team, and I don't think he will be. And so we no impact. And in terms of if I think we'll be a Premier League team, we're not only do we have to beat Burnley, we have to start beating the teams we're not expected to beat. So we have to either beat a Man United or beat a Liverpool or get something at Man City. These are the teams we've got come up. We've got Arsenal. We can't just look at these teams down near where we are and hope we pick up enough points. So at the moment, 6 points adrift, I think it's a lot to ask for. I haven't completely given up hope, but it's not looking good. So Burnley must win. Don't win that, done. Man United or Liverpool, beat one of those. Have to. It's looking grim, but stranger things have happened. There's a little bit of hope left.
There is, mate. There is a little bit. You never know. You never know in football.
Dan, thanks for joining us. That's West Ham fan and podcaster Dan Lawless reacting to Axel Disasi completing his move from Chelsea to West Ham. He mentioned Burnley there. Burnley in action live right now on talkSPORT 2. 2-0 down at Sunderland at half-time. Looking pretty bleak for Scott Parker's Clarets. They weren't particularly active in this transfer window either. You are listening to Transfer Deadline Day live on talkSPORT with me, Alex Crook, and Danny Murphy alongside me.
Tottenham 2, Manchester City 2, a result I didn't really expect at all at half-time. The sad thing was,
game of two halves.
I know there was a lot of talk about the atmosphere, but the atmosphere wasn't angry in that first half. I think we all looked at the team and thought, wow, we could get it, our backsides handed to us here. And then the team kind of lived down to our expectations in the first half. And it was very flat. It was an apathetic, flat performance. We had no expectations. And then they suddenly came alive in the second half, and it doesn't take much. It just takes a bit of intent, just a little bit of belief, and the place was transformed.
The professional football people, of which I certainly don't count you two and myself, there's an illusion that the crowd must lift the team. The thing that works, and really the only thing that ever really, really works, with one or two exceptions, maybe the Leeds crowd can lift their team occasionally, is the team lifts the crowd, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Sure.
The two most important moments in that game, one was invisible.
You're listening to Transfer Deadline Day live on talkSPORT. The transfer window slammed shut A little over 2 hours, 20 minutes ago now, but still plenty of deals going through. We're expecting confirmation that Wolves have completed a double signing on deadline day of Angel Gomez from Marseille and Southampton striker Adam Armstrong for £9 million. Axel Disasi from Chelsea to West Ham on loan, we're told, has also been completed, and we are awaiting confirmation that Everton have got a deal for Tariq George from Chelsea over the line, but one deal not happening. We broke it exclusively around about 20 minutes ago. Dwight McNeil from Everton to Crystal Palace. The deal was agreed, but looks like that one has fallen through. Live football right now on talkSPORT 2. It's Sunderland against relegation-haunted Burnley. Sunderland 2-0 up last time we heard. Let's check out some of the commentary with the former England striker Dean Ashton and your commentator Cameron Pope.
Try and get the goal to put them under pressure. See if it makes Sunderland a little bit nervy. And to do that, you're going to have to be a bit more aggressive with his substitutions, which he has been. I expect them to be more like a 4-4-2 now.
Reynildo's throw-in comes to nothing. Sunderland will have the ball, but they'll have it further away from goal. They lead by 2-0 on talkSPORT 2. 63.5 minutes gone. As a crossfield ball comes the way of Hume, takes it on his outstretched thigh, and then rolls it in field towards Diarra, attacking into the penalty area, had his head up, and then Brobbey turning on the penalty spot and shooting low, parried by the goalkeeper and sent over from an improbable range, and that really should have been 3-0. Nordi Mukiele was coming in there, it seemed to spring into his path, couldn't keep it down, it's gone out for a goal kick, it remains 2-0, and Nordi Mukiele has hurt himself in the process.
Yeah, again, it's that combination, Diarra into Brobbey, lovely turn away from his defender, great swivel and shot, good save by Dubravka down to his left, and then it comes to Mukiele, and you just think he's going to just tap this in. He's under severe pressure though, takes a whack as well, just couldn't keep it down because of that pressure that he was under.
As we welcome listeners from talkSPORT. Sunderland 2, Burnley 0. We're 18.5 minutes into this second half. It really should be 3-0. A golden chance there for Nordi Mukiele, who has picked himself back up off the deck now, having stumbled there in a gold mine when Dubravka's save dropped into his path. Sent it over the bar from only about 8 yards out. Hurt in the process, is now back and trotting into his own half of the field. Burnley flattering to deceive for the first 45 minutes. Improved in fits and starts in this second period as Lucas Perez stands on it on halfway. Back into the defence it goes for Laurent. And now Esteve will pick it up just in front of him. And blue shirt billowing in the wear side wind as Sunderland happy to sit back and absorb some more pressure here. 65 on the clock. Still with that.
So Sunderland leading Burnley by 2-0. Burnley will have 15 points with 14 matches to go. They look doomed to return to the Championship. Coverage continues over on talkSPORT 2. But time now to look at our magic moments of the weekend. All thanks to Ladisfaction from Ladbrokes.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Yes, that's right. It's time to pick our magic moments of the weekend. Brought us Ladisfaction, all thanks to Ladbrokes. Easy for me to say after a long day. Danny, I know you've got a couple that you want to pick out. Do you want to start with your golf one?
Yeah, I think I've got to mention Justin Rose winning the Farmers PGA on the weekend. I mean, he's 45. He's number 3 in the world now.
Had a brilliant year, hasn't he? Brilliant 12 months.
I mean, golf has become a very athletic sport, and to be at the top for 20 years and to still be competing. Let's not forget as well, he's the one that lost the playoff for the Masters with Rory. That's his second place at the moment.
I was going to ask you that because the Masters is not that far away now, coming up in March. Has he got a chance?
His experience in the Ryder Cup was incredible. I mean, never mind his experience, the performances in the Ryder Cup in New York was just sensational. And this performance the other day, he didn't edge it. He led from round 1 and absolutely smashed it. An unbelievable level of golf. I don't know if he finished. I think he was a few holes out when he hadn't 3-putted once, which was, for that many days ago. He's just a complete ultimate pro who constantly works on his game. and has a wonderful mindset. I thought the way he dealt with that loss to Rory was incredible, when I would have just broken down in tears and jumped into the nearest big hole. But he didn't. He went and congratulated him. But that performance over the weekend at Torrey Pines was as good as he's played in a long, long time. And you've got to put him in the picture now for these big tournaments coming up as the year goes by.
You have the Masters. Have you been?
No, I haven't. I might do it one day.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's the best one, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Although I've heard the social ain't too great around there.
It's not the nicest part of the world.
No.
Shall we say that? But
so yeah, well done, Justin Rose. It's just a pleasure watching him play golf. The other one, I think, from a footballing perspective, the second goal from Ekitike kind of epitomised his impact. When Liverpool needs somebody or something, he keeps producing these moments. It's like he's free of the expectation and the pressure. For such a young man to be able to play with that, it's got like a strut, hasn't he? Not in a bad way, just that complete belief in himself, the pace, the finish, the toe ender, like the improvisation, everything about it. And I don't know if you've been at games where you notice this. Some goals get bigger celebrations than others.
Yeah. It
felt like Anfield when that extra bit, crazy when that went in. It's like, oh my God, what have we got here?
Yeah.
And I'm even seeing online on Instagram with these YouTubers and all these different people. I'm seeing Man U and Chelsea YouTubers saying, oh dear, oh God, Liverpool have got one here. That's the impact.
It's ironic it was against Newcastle, because Eddie Howe must have sat there in the dugout thinking, we could have had this kid. And what a different season it could have been for them.
Amazing. I mean, when you look at Wissa and Voltemada struggling a little bit, there's got to be a bit of envy there. It's a good job he's playing this well as well, by the way.
Well, they're going to need him, aren't they, for the rest of the season? He's
massively
been the shining light. I could have picked out Dominic Solanke and his scorpion kick as my magic moment.
Sorry, Dom. That amazing.
What a goal that was to witness yesterday. But actually, my magic moment, unsurprisingly, was Old Trafford. We're going to come on to that later in the programme on the air, all the way through until 10 o'clock tonight. But those were our magic moments of the weekend. They brought us Ladisfaction. All thanks to Ladbrokes. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+. GambleAware.org.
Sad, isn't it? F***ing sad. You know what I mean? I'm still shaking my head. You know what I mean? Would you do it again? I bloody will do it again. Actually, I think if I had been a bit more mobile, I might have done a knee slide. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That would have only got me a yellow as well.
Ah, David. So he got booked, Simon. He got booked, Martin. And he was. I mean, a lot of that I think is tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, if they say, okay, we'll make, in special cases you can come out your technical area. No.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, the fact that it looks like a cross between David Pleat on a mobility scooter is a problem for him.
Or David Pleat.
Yeah, but the fact is that it's the technical area is big enough for them to celebrate in. It's been made bigger than back in the day when you had managers that meant as much to them back in the day. You didn't see Bob Paisley doing a knee slide, did you? The fact is that if you let a manager do this, then they'll take it to the next level.
Did Mourinho not do it in midweek then?
Well,
no, it's a bit of emotion.
Inconsistency. No, there's nothing wrong with it. But there's no need for managers to go on a pitch at the end of a game. There's no need for managers to run on the pitch and celebrate. They've got a plenty big enough technical area. And the reasons why I say that it's not as mean-spirited as David would want to perpetuate.
Goal at the Stadium of Light. talkSPORT's Graham Courtney.
If it wasn't over, it is now. Sunderland 3, Burnley 0. An absolute belt of a goal by Chemson Talby. A rocket of a shot as well. It's his third of the season. Another player that's come back from the AFCON. And I tell you what, all of the Sunderland players that went over and played in that tournament have come back here, and they look as though they're all on fire. They seem to have enjoyed themselves over there. Probably been a bit of sunshine, but a terrific one. And if the points weren't, as I say, sealed up a few minutes ago, well, they are now. Still waiting for Burnley to have a direct shot on target. They've been awful, but Sunderland cruising. Sunderland 3, Burnley 0. Don't forget, there is commentary over on talkSPORT 2 here at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, looking pretty bleak for Burnley in terms of an immediate return to the Championship. A reminder, that game continues live right now on talkSPORT 2. But here on talkSPORT, you are listening to Transfer Deadline Day and what's been a really busy final day of the window. Here's how it sounded.
Jim White, Alex Crook and Danny Murphy with us. You will not miss a trick. The clock is ticking. Remember, a 7 o'clock deadline. Alex, what are you thinking?
For the second transfer deadline day in succession, Crystal Palace dominating the headlines. In the summer, it was all about Mark Gay. Today, it's Gay's former teammate Jean-Philippe Mateta who has kept us entertained throughout the afternoon. Mateta stays at Crystal Palace.
AC Milan sent the doctor of the club to meet the player, and the Milan doctor was not convinced, was not satisfied with the exam results, and said to the club, we shouldn't go ahead with this signing.
Jürgen Strand Larsen is confirmed. It's been officially announced by Crystal Palace in the last minute or so. Jürgen is Palace. 3 words in a tweet. It's a club record signing for Crystal Palace, £43 million plus add-ons.
I think people will be pleasantly surprised by his quality. He's a big, strong boy who's got tidy feet, and he'll score some goals for him as long as he gets the service.
£20 million fee agreed with Everton for Dwight McNeil. McNeil undergoing a Palace medical as we speak, but that could be 2 signings today for Crystal Palace. Jürgen Strand Larsen from Wolves, and now the man who they think will supply him the bullets to score the goals, Dwight McNeil from Everton.
Too late now, Danny, but are you still somewhat frustrated that Mark Gay's not in a Liverpool shirt?
You have to be frustrated because he's such a classy footballer and ready-made. There's no risk. Leaves a bit of taste, that one.
Dwight McNeil's move from Everton to Crystal Palace is off. News reaching me in the last few moments, that deal will now not go ahead. It was to be a loan initially with a £20 million obligation.
I think he'll obviously be disappointed. The fact he's gone for the medical. Probably looking forward to a fresh challenge and playing more minutes. So he'll be devastated. We don't know the reason, I don't think yet, why. From Palace's point of view, I think it's a loss.
Yeah, plenty of talking points from around the Premier League. Busy day for Crystal Palace, in particular, completing that £48 million club record move for Jürgen Strand Larsen. Jean-Philippe Mateta staying at Selhurst Park after AC Milan pulled out of a potential £26 million deal for him. Looked like Dwight McNeil will be joining Strand Larsen and Mateta in South London, but that deal off, as we exclusively reported on talkSPORT. That was due to a paperwork issue after Palace submitted a deal sheet to the Premier League after the 7 p.m. deadline elapsed. Everton did, though, complete the signing of Chelsea's England under-21 international Tyreek George on a loan initially with the option of a permanent deal at the end of the season. Sunderland signed a left-back from Borussia Mönchengladbach, aptly named Nets, for £2 million. Those are just some of the big stories on transfer deadline day. Another big signing. It was actually, revealed by talkSPORT on Sunday night, and it's for the summer and not this window. Jeremy Jacquet to Liverpool for £60 million. Liverpool fending off competition from Chelsea. Let's bring in our French football expert, Julien Laurent, now to get his take on it. Julien, very good evening to you. What sort of player are Liverpool going to get?
Hello, guys. I think it's a wonderful signing. Really, I mean, I can't stress enough what talent Jeremy Jacquet is. And I know he's only 20, and I know he's only played 30 league games in the French top flight. He doesn't know what European football is. He's never played in the Champions League, has never played for France yet. But he's so good. A year ago, he was playing in the second division for Clermont, where he was on loan. And that was too easy for him. Rennes brought him back to the club because they just needed somebody as good as him. And then a year later, it's a lot of money, I understand, but it's a massive move for him. And when two clubs like Chelsea and Liverpool are ready to pay that amount of money, it's because you must be very special.
What's his main quality, Julien?
Dan, I think he's got everything. He's tall, he's 1.88 m. I don't know how many of your feet and inches and whatever it is.
6'3".
Yeah, something like that, I'm sure. Yeah. I believe you. So he's got the size. You know, for that, he was always big and strong, even when he was like under 15, under 16. For that, he reminded me of William Saliba, how powerful he was as a youngster. And then that stayed, obviously, you know what the thing I think is his best attribute is he doesn't dive in. His reading of the game, of trajectories, of where the ball is going to go is so good. He rarely tackles, he rarely goes to ground. He's so good at that. And, you know, blocking shot by staying up and making himself big and all of that is great. And I'm not even sure you teach that, really. I think you've got that in you when you're a defender of that level and that caliber. And he's got it. On the ball, of course, he can become better. He plays in the back three right now in France. He's comfortable in the back four, but back three obviously limits what he needs to do with the ball. But I think he can get to that. He's been a captain of every single French national team since under 16 all the way to the under 21s. Obviously, he hasn't been capped yet for the French A team, but he's got those leadership qualities. And I think there will inevitably be a bit of time for him to adapt to the Premier League. Somebody today reminded me of Lenny Yoro and the move from Lille and Ligue 1 to a club like United, a massive club in the Premier League, and how things maybe hasn't gone like we thought it would, which I completely understand. I think coming to Liverpool in the summer was very different than when Lenny Yoro went to Manchester United to start with. And maybe Jacquet would adapt a little bit better than what Lenny Yoro has done.
Danny, I know you're a bit frustrated that this is a deal for the summer and not the here and now. You feel that Jeremy Jacquet could add something to Liverpool for the final 14 games of the Premier League season, the Champions League as well, FA Cup maybe?
Well, it's not so much frustration that it's not him, because sometimes you just can't get a deal over the line if the selling club is insisting he's not ready to go till the summer. But to get someone in to cover Konate and Van Dijk with the Gomez injuries that not happening could derail Liverpool's Champions League hopes. Because if you did lose one of those two, who've got that lovely partnership, who did so well last season and got the experience, then who comes in? That's you're dropping Gravenberch in there, Endo in there. They're midfielders, which I am surprised Liverpool haven't done something, even if it was a loan. But no, this is a really exciting one. It's a promising one. I think we spoke to somebody else regarding him earlier, didn't we? And they'd be interesting to hear Julian's views on it. Said probably needs to fill out a little bit and get a bit stronger. Would that be fair? Because I was watching some of his stuff today, and he's obviously a really good athlete, and he's tall, but he's quite thin, isn't he?
Yeah, he's quite thin. You don't want him to lose the pace, though, because I think, again, to have somebody his size and his quality, that pace, I think, is quite important, really. But yeah, he would need a bit. Again, let's not forget, he's played 1 year of top-flight football, and that's it. So, obviously, even if the French league is physical and even if it's getting a bit more intense, he's not right now. His body is more of a Ligue 1 body compared to a Premier League body to be able to to face Gyökeres or Haaland and or Broby and those kind of strikers. There's no doubt. But I think that will come with his own evolution, because things have gone very quickly, and some would say too quickly. maybe. I mean, time will tell, I guess. But yeah, there's a bit of work for him to do physically, without doubt, technically as well, especially if in this Liverpool team, he needs to come out with the ball a little bit more, be maybe more assertive in his passing and have more progressive passes than he has now. But again, this is not what he's been asked at Rennes, so it's not that he can't do it. It's more that he's not asked to do it at the moment. But the rest is so high already that I'm not too worried about the other, like kind of part of his game that he will have to improve.
It's a great point you make, because Crook, you struggled when you put on a bit of weight, but lost a bit of pace, didn't you?
I never had any pace to start with, so I was absolutely fine. Julian, let's talk about another Frenchman in the news on deadline day, Jean-Philippe Mateta. We now know he's not off to AC Milan. He's staying at Crystal Palace. Might not get much game time between now and the end of the season. May even need surgery on that knee injury that scuppered his move to Milan. Is that him done in terms of France's World Cup squad, do you think?
That's a great question, Alex. He was so hopeful, and he obviously started so well with the national team, because I think he's got 2 goals in 3 caps. And he was hoping to be on the plane and on that 26-man squad in a highly competitive environment for attacking places. Obviously, when you just start naming the Mbappés and Olises and Dembeles and Barcolas, Doués, etc., Ekitikes, who even Hugo is not guaranteed to go, to be fair. So I think for Mateta, the move for a big club was not nothing against Crystal Palace. He just felt that if he played for an AC Milan, for example, okay, they're not in Europe, unlike Crystal Palace, but maybe he might have more chances to make the 26-man squad. Now it's all about when will he come back. Is this a bad injury? This is an injury that we were not even aware of really so much about before today. So I don't know how serious it is. I don't know how much games he's going to miss, how many games, sorry. And then we see Deschamps likes that kind of profile. And I think to go to a World Cup, I don't know what Danny feels like, but it's good to have a different profile like him, because if you're losing, just chuck him on and start playing slightly differently than if you've got Mbappe or Doué as your 9 or Dembele as your 9.
Do you, just on Ekitika, I know you mentioned him now, I think a different profile's definitely a good tool to have in any squad. But have you been surprised how well Ekitike's done? Or do you think the experience of PSG... I actually had the pleasure of speaking to him after the game on Saturday. I was working, and he brought up the experience of PSG, giving him the confidence to walk in at Liverpool and just be able to do his stuff and just enjoy it. But did you still expect him to do this well?
Yes and no. Yes, because the talent was never a problem. We've known how good he'd been talent-wise. He was there even before the move to PSG. The talent got him that move because that half a season with Reims, he was outstanding in Ligue 1. It was just too early. He was not ready. I think the club at the time and that dressing room and Neymar and Mbappe and all of that, Messi, etc., plus Paris and everything that can bring to your life was maybe a bit difficult to deal with all in all. And obviously we knew he'd learned from that experience, or we hoped that he'd learned from that experience in Paris. But still, to come and to make almost this team his own, in a way. I know it's not completely his own team and Wirtz is doing well and you still have Salah and etc. But you saw again on Saturday against Newcastle how important he is, and that without him, I'm not sure where they would be right now at Liverpool. So he's done amazingly well. I love his personality, the character, is everything that you see. This is who he is. And I know sometimes it's a bit chaos because he would think maybe differently than a more traditional number 9, if you want. But that's the beauty of his game and of his style too. And I think there's so much more to come from him once he gets maybe more composed in some moments and some incidents. But I think he's great. And I'm really hoping that Deschamps will take him again. It's not guaranteed, but I think he's got a big chance.
Julian, thanks very much for joining us on talkSPORT. Julian Laurent reacting there to Liverpool's £60 million signing of Jeremy Jacquet from Rennes and Jean-Philippe Mateta's ill-fated move to AC Milan. Danny, very quickly before the break, just talk to me about the big signing of the day, the club record deal that Palace have done for Jurgen Strand Larsen. A lot of people have questioned the fact they're paying $48 million. Simon Jordan on this station has been very disparaging about Strand Larsen. Would you back him to prove those critics wrong?
I think he'll do better than people think. I saw a bit of him last season. He was in a struggling side, but he had good players around him in Cunha, Aït-Nouri, Semenya, people who were able to get him the ball in dangerous areas. And he got 14 goals in a struggling side, which is no mean feat. Now, okay, Mateta scored more than that in the last 2 seasons, so you ideally want better if you're going to let someone go and bring someone in. But he is 3 or 4 years younger. He had an injury at the start of the season, quite a long one. Then he'd been on the bench a little while, played a couple of games, hasn't got the goals maybe that... Because people are saying, he's played X amount of games. No, they're appearances.
Yeah, and a lot of them have come off the bench.
A lot of them were off the bench in a team that was done in confidence.
Yeah.
So...
And that affected him as well. He missed a penalty, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago?
And he missed a good chance at the weekend. But I think with his physicality, and he's got quite a good all-round game.
Yeah.
And he'll have a point to prove. And Palace, when they're good, do make chances. And I think more recently, we had a Palace fan on earlier, talking about the fact that the points tally hasn't reflected the performances. They've made a lot of chances. So I think, although it is a lot of money, he might surprise one or two.
Give us your winners and losers from the window.
I think City winners.
Yeah.
Although I still fancy Arsenal, I think those two are both no-brainers, both Premiership ready, both wonderful players, got physical presence. Semenyo, you've seen what he's done since he's gone in there, and Gay, I'm sure, will have a big impact on their European Champions League hopes of winning it. With the injuries they've got, it's just really good business.
Anyone else?
I would have said Palace if they'd got McNeil over the line, but actually now they've got Strand Larsen and Mateta. It gives them a different option to play a different way, maybe a 4-4-2, maybe just a different way of trying to get results. So they've done all right. West Ham have done as much as I think they can do.
Yep.
Trying to attract players. They brought 2 strikers in. They got Desazi there, who gives them a bit more pace and physicality. So that gives them a little bit of chance. I think losers, I'm surprised Newcastle haven't done any business. I understand why Tottenham haven't, because they've got so many players who are going to come back.
Yeah.
And so many options already. But Newcastle, I'm really surprised because I think they're still in 4 competitions. Is that right?
Yeah, just about.
Just about. Yeah, but all right, let's say 3. Yeah. I say 3 competitions as in a good run from now the end of the season will get them in a European place.
Got Villa in the FA Cup.
Villa in the FA Cup. They've lost the last 2 home games.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
And Champions League.
Yeah. Also, I'm surprised as well, and I think Eddie Howe will be a little bit disappointed by that. Okay, we are hurtling towards 10 o'clock when, of course, the Sports Bar will take over, taking all your calls on this transfer window and, in particular, the events of deadline day. But when we come back tonight, well, we've got to talk about the mighty Manchester United.
Look, Ross the Motherwell fan has texted a little bit cruelly, but says I might be wrong, but I'm sure it was that sausage Rodri that complained about the length of the grass at Hampden when Mighty Scotland pumped Spain 3-2.
He's right.
Do you think, though, in truth, that Rodri he's more frustrated by the level of City's performance than he is by officials?
Well, he has to be, and he'll probably, something. He's just a phenomenal player, Jeff. Absolutely fantastic player. And, there's no getting away from it. And he's not firing on all cylinders yet, coming back for, as you correctly say, a very, very serious injury. And he will get back to fitness. You see signs of it. He's still not there yet. So with that comes frustration, right? There's no getting away from it because you want to be at the level that you know you can be. So you start looking at other things, and other things that generally wouldn't really get to you start annoying you.
Yes, you are listening to Deadline Day right here on talkSPORT. The window slammed shut At 7 o'clock on Monday evening, there were still deals to be done after that window closed. Everton getting a deal over the line for Tyreek George from Chelsea on loan with the option of a permanent move. Wolves, yeah, he's a good player, I think. Wolves completing a double signing for Angel Gomez and Adam Armstrong, but Dwight McNeil's move from Everton to Crystal Palace falling down due to an issue with paperwork. All of the fallout on the website talksport.com. But we got to talk, Danny, about Manchester United. I know you watched this game for TV on Sunday. 2-0 up and cruising. Suddenly looked like they were going to throw away 3 points, 2-2, and they go straight up the other end and get the winner.
Well, they weren't actually cruising because in the first half, Fulham actually played well, caused United some problems, got in some really good areas, lacked that little bit of quality in the final third, but played through United better than Arsenal and City did, if I'm being completely honest. And the reason is I think United got caught a little bit in between. Do we go and press them or do we do what we've been doing and keep that shape and then hit them? And Fulham are a good side. They're in great form. You know, they're no mugs. And they played
third in the form table coming in.
Played some really good stuff. So United got the goal. Great header from Casemiro, who played great, by the way. Amazing what players can do when you put them in the right position with players around them, isn't it? You know, it's weird, isn't it? Play another midfielder next to him.
He'll never catch on.
He'll never catch on. So, yeah, they got the goal. And second half, they were a bit better, a bit more settled. And when they got the second goal, you thought that was it. And actually, I think Carrick, and I know him, I played with him, he's a great lad, and I'm actually genuinely pleased for him, even though it's United. I actually thought when Casemiro went off, they lost a bit of control.
Yeah.
And Fulham
Is that because Casemiro went off or because Agarto came on?
Well, let's just say there's a difference.
That's being there.
Yeah, there's a difference in the ability.
That's like there's a difference between my hairline and your hairline.
Yeah, that's true. But I thought that didn't go well for them.
No.
And also the Fulham subs made an impact. And the equaliser was a wonder goal.
Yeah, it was.
It was a brilliant goal. But I think for United to turn back the clock and be able to go, you know what? No problem. We'll go and get another. Bit of magic from Bruno. Yes, poor defending from Fulham. And for Sesko, one thing you've got to give Michael Carrick credit for, and this must be his communication skills. I expected Cunha, when he got left out,
to sulk.
Come on against City, great. Left out again, Arsenal. Came on, got the winner.
Yeah. And you saw Joshua Zirkzee, who's not getting a look in, celebrating.
But Sesko.
At full time.
You know, he scored 4 in 4, I think, since Amarin's left.
Yeah.
But he's been benched. You know, and what does he do? Gets on with it. Ready when he comes on the pitch. Okay.
It wasn't an easy chance, was it?
No, well, his touch made it harder.
Yeah.
Because it's gone behind him. And the other reason why that was such a good finish is because he'd missed the sitter at 2-0. I say a sitter, header, hit the post, didn't he?
Yeah.
And that could have been in the back of his mind. And for United fans to leave there with a last-minute winner, it kind of reminded me of the years watching when I first started seeing United be successful with Bruce getting last-minute winners and Fergie on the pitch.
I was going to say, before we come on to Carrick, that was the United DNA. When Gary Neville said we need a manager who understands the DNA, goals in Fergie time at the Stretford end, that is the United DNA, entertaining football.
Well, it's a mindset of not dwelling on disappointment. And we saw so many times at Old Trafford under Amarim, United go behind or, 2-2 or 1-1, and all of a sudden they're hanging on and struggling because their confidence is shot, and he's changing 3 of the back 4 in the last 10 minutes and all that palaver, It felt like United just went, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And that comes from the coach.
So with that in mind, could the biggest winner of this transfer window be Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada for ousting Ruben Amorim? Did United waste a year with Ruben Amorim?
Yeah, they did. I think it was quite evident quite quickly it wasn't going to work. They were so easy to play against. The players' body language didn't look good. They didn't look like they wanted to play that system. And so many of them were playing out of position. It was round pegs in square holes. And we talked about it. Me, you, we have been on many shows, non-stop. Every show was talking about it. Let's put some players in the right positions. Let's put Bruno as a 10 because he's a match winner, one of the best in Europe, if not the world, as being a number 10.
Yep.
Tell you what we'll do. We'll keep playing him deep where he can get run off the back of.
Madness.
So Carrick's done really well. The next few games for Man United are going to be key because they've got the rest in between. And if they can win the next 2 are definitely winnable. Tottenham at home and think there's another team.
West Ham away.
West Ham away.
And it's Palace at home. Everton away. The next 4 are winnable. I know you've got to shoot off, so let's get your final view on this deadline day. How'd you sum it up?
I think for me it was more active than I expected it to be. It was quite fascinating and interesting, especially with the Mateta thing. There was some business done earlier in the window, yes, but it became more exciting as well when Liverpool were looking to do business, although we're not going to see him for 6 months. But overall, I think, what was it, 3rd biggest spend in the last 6 years? Not a bad day for us, really.
No, it was good fun. It was good fun and great to share it with you. Danny, thanks for joining us tonight on Deadline Day on talkSPORT. Very quickly, let's get back to the Stadium of Light. Full time, Graham Courtney.
Yeah, finished Sunderland 3, Burnley 0. Habib Diarra, after 9 minutes with a shot, deflected in by Axel Tuanzebe. Got a real goal, though, after 22 minutes. A bit of a solo effort, and he's sliding the ball into the bottom left-hand corner with absolute ease. 72 on the clock. Shamsuddin Talbi just sort of killed off the game completely. Rocket of a shot from him. That's his 3rd of the season on his return from AFCON. Burnley did not have a shot on target. So what does it mean? Sunderland up to 8, 36 points. Burnley, well, the marooned, aren't they, on 15 points, 2nd from bottom. Finished at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 3, Burnley 0.
Yeah, looking very, very bleak for Burnley. Thanks very much to Graham Courtney and to Danny Murphy as well. This has been Deadline Day live on talkSPORT. And up next, it's the Sports Bar with Jason Cundy and Jamie O'Hara.